All right, we're live. It says I got 3 people pulling at the gates to get in out there, so that would be out on YouTube. We'll get there in a minute, and looks like I got some video guys ready to come in too. Anyway, welcome to the Stunt Hangar Friday Night Hangout. I'm Rusty, and I'll be here with you till probably about midnight or later, depending on how the conversation goes and how long the diehards last. I don't know if I'll be able to join the diehards tonight or not. I'm feeling a little tired today on Friday afternoon, but we'll do the best we can. Talk about airplanes, aeromodeling, anything you like to do in your shop with screwdrivers, hammers, chisels, and saws, whatever you got, and building, flying, crashing, repairing. And the links are posted in the usual places, which means if you logged into the Stunt Hangar control line forums as a member, that is stunthangar.com, then you can go to the At the Bench thread on the main forums page, not the open forum, but down below that, if you scroll below the open forum, you'll see a thread called Live Streams, and the one named At the Bench is the one that this post will be in, and the link to come in to the show with your cameras and microphones will be found there. And after it says Rusty is inviting you to a meeting, click the first link after that. Today's date is in the title so you can identify it. And we just ask that you keep it family friendly. Don't say anything you wouldn't say in front of your child or grandchild in your family room. And we're off. Let's have a show. We've already got Bob Bishop out there on YouTube and 2 unidentified visitors, and we got John Miller waving at me. Hey, John. And we've got Peter out there, Peter Nevi out there waiting to talk to us. So please tell me you can hear me.
Yep, I hear you.
Okay, good. Since there's only 3 people here, well, 4 now. Gary Sinclair just came. Y'all can probably hear me pretty good. And if everything follows its usual suit as the show fills up with people, my computer will get polluted, and y'all won't be able to understand what I'm saying, and vice versa, until I reboot repeatedly. So seems to be the way it goes. But anyway, I hope y'all all had a good weekend, and I'm going to put you in grid view so it's easier for me to watch. All right. Howdy, everybody. Everybody have a good weekend. I mean, a good week, I hope.
I did.
Yeah.
Hey, I found out something after you left Monday, Rusty. I found out that when we get down to like 4 or 5 people, I could share my screen.
You know what I found out is it depends on the file size of whatever you're trying to share.
Yeah, I'm sure that's it. I was able to share some pictures Monday, so it was good.
Yeah. If you got some that you really want to show us and you can't get it to share, try opening it in your video editor and reducing it by 25 or 50%, depending on how big the file is, and try it again, and it may very well work.
Yeah. I don't have any right now that I want to share. I'm working on something. I'm trying to decide whether to put it on here or to put it on regular Stunt Hangar, and that's using summing the moments to figure out how to design a plane that balances.
Yeah. It's nice to be able to do it here when you want to, but that's all I could come up with. But that was helpful, and I can't believe I didn't think of it already. But yeah, it's worth a try. I don't know what to tell you about YouTube videos because there's no way to really reduce those. You can, I guess, compress them, but that would make them really crummy looking. And you don't want to compress the ones on YouTube. You want to do ones locally on your computer. When y'all show videos to us, are y'all showing me videos that are already on YouTube, or or y'all sometimes showing me videos that are on your computer already?
Hey, Rusty, just real quick here to quote the movie Treasure of the Sierra Madres. We don't need no stinking cruddy videos.
Okay. So y'all tell me what you did for fun this week.
I've been working on my other computer over here. Ran into a little snag. I've got to get some different bolts to bolt the cooling package, but I got the radiator and all that in the computer. It's just a matter of getting in and hooking the thing up, and should be up and running as soon as I do that. Probably
Good.
get bolts tomorrow. I stripped the ones that came with it.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
So how does that system work? Is that what kind of cooling system is that? Is it just heat sinks?
It's a cooler master, and what it has a little unit that fits onto the CPU. Clamps down just like the normal air cooler that comes, with the computer to cool the CPU.
Yeah.
Well, this one fits in place, but it looks like a small inverted cup, like a half a cup of water measure. And it's got two pipes coming out of that. Well, one's above the other. So the one closest gets hot and just by natural convection goes up into the radiator. And the other one comes down from the radiator, is cooled and comes back in. And it's got a sensor on the fan that senses when the CPU is really warm, and it turns the fan on or up or down or things like that. So
Has it got fluid in it?
Yep, it's water cooled or liquid cooled.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and it's just I got tired of having it shutting off on me because it wasn't the fan one wasn't big enough or good enough to do the job, and I bought a couple of other ones, but when I put them on there, I couldn't close the computer. They were so much bigger this way.
Yeah.
So
well, it'll run faster and last longer too.
Yeah, and if I was to get a wild hair and decide to overclock the thing, it should keep it cool.
Mm-hmm.
So I've
never overclocked one before.
I haven't either. I don't see a need for it, but if it occurred, it would be possible.
Yeah, I thought about it, and I've read about it, and I've been to overclockers forums, but nah, I decided there's just no need to risk ruining it, because one time all I wanted to do was pull the heatsink off and put a fresh smear of conductive grease on it. Well, that's stupid. That stuff doesn't go bad, but for some reason I thought it was a great idea at the time, and as soon as I turned the computer back on, it fried. It never worked again, and so I was using that silver conductive type. I probably got some on something that I shouldn't have gotten it on, but yeah, I'm never going to do that again.
I don't blame you. I did something else too that might be of interest to you. I played around with summing the moments on the Vanguard, because I'm sitting here looking at it. I got it right on the wall, right behind the computer, so I sit here and look at it while I'm talking to y'all. And I kept looking at it and said, boy, that nose looks awful short for the length of the fuselage. But I got the batteries right up there, quite a bit, like 3 inches or so, the back of the batteries within 3 inches of the pivot point or the CG. Mm-hmm. and things like that. I better find out if I've got the moments correct. So I had to use estimates for the weights and that the various things, but I was able to get the exact distances off the plan, and so worked it all out. And I come out. I've got it'll be nose heavy by 1 ounce inch of force. So in other words, if I put 1 ounce, 1 inch ahead of the pivot point of the CG, it would balance. Well, if I went further out, I would say if I went 8 inches out, I'd only have to put 1/8 of an ounce. You know, so it's pretty darn close the way it's drawn, using estimated weights. As you know, having built a lot of planes, you can get a pretty good idea of what the things weigh. But you know, I have to figure out the weight of the fuselage with the covering, the weight of the flaps, or not the flaps, but the wing, the weight of the stab and elevator, the sub rudder. All of that has to be figured in. It has to be a finished weight, you know, with whether it's painted or monocoat or whatever. And anyway, I've got my good scale, my ounce and gram scale in a box out in the garage. So as I set up my shop, I'll have that in there, and I'll be able to get some actual weights. You know, like how much the spinner weighs, how much the prop weighs, how much the motor mount for the electric weighs, how much the electric, you know, all of that. Get a good weight, and I should be able to come out with it. At worst, I can either lengthen the tail a little if I actually am a little nose heavy, or I can nose heavy. Yeah, actually, I'll probably have to lengthen the tail a little bit because I don't see where I can, with the batteries where I'm located in that, I just don't see where I can shorten that nose up much more. So anyway, it's nice to be able to do that. I asked on the forum here a couple of weeks ago or a week and a half ago, because I couldn't remember the exact formula, and Trey brought it up and told me what it was, and I went over onto the internet and I typed in summing the moments, and there it was. There's just a whole treatise on it, plus a lot of other stuff, and just exactly how to do it and what. So yeah, it was worthwhile reading, worthwhile doing. I should be doing that on any plane I design or draw, because a lot of people go to, you know, they've got, especially going to electric from IC, you know, you've got a weight distribution difference of weights, total weights.
Absolutely. Yeah, and your builders will want to know where to start looking for the CG, and that'll be convenient for them.
Well, yeah, and you know, if you're drawing the plans, that you should have done that already and put it where it's within a decent range, you know, so they can go 4.5 on it. They don't have to go 4.5, 3 inches, maybe a quarter of an inch, 3/8 of an inch. So yeah, it's really easy to do, you know. So I'll probably type up an article, put it on Stunt News under design about doing this for those that, you know, haven't done it or don't know about it. And
if they print it, copy the link to the builder forum at Stunt Hangar too. So
yeah. So anyway, that's what I've been doing this whole week.
Peter's got an animal sneaking up on him.
Yeah, he's gonna bite him. He's been playing with that toy with it.
Yeah, that toy's looking like it's been pretty well loved.
He's gonna get your hand there, Peter.
My puppy loves her toys. She gets a bark box every month in the mail, and it's got a couple of new toys and a few bags of treats and things like that in it. She loves it. She recognizes it when it comes to the door too, because the postman brings it to the door. And last month he walked up and she barked and looked out and started wagging her tail, and he held it up and said, "This is for you." And so yeah, she likes to play with the box, and of course it's got like a kid's cereal box. It's got things to look at. You know, you unfold it and set it up. And dogs are, you know, I grew up with dogs, but I never until now fully appreciated how human-like and intelligent they are, and they do a wonderful job of interpreting language. And
I think you're right. I think they understand us. My dog tries to talk to me. You know,
they
Yeah,
now,
we
I
try.
can't say they don't get on my nerves like crazy, but still, I
We see
love
that.
this one. She's great.
You see that white thing there over my shoulder on the chair?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
that's my cat. I call him Dude.
Oh,
He's white with a little orange on him.
yeah. I think we've met him before.
Yeah, well, he and the other one, the little female, the blue one. I take the dog out for a walk and I take him down a block and around and that, and they go with me. It's a dangerous thing.
Really?
I walk down there and here comes the dog, here comes the blue cat, and here comes the white cat following up the rear.
My
And
cats have not bonded with the dog yet. The dog, she gives them hell, and that irritates me about her. She just won't leave them alone. She wants to play, and they don't. They
well,
want to hiss and swat.
the blue cat wants to play with the dog, and the dog doesn't realize that she's trying to play.
Yeah.
And he gets like that, doesn't bite him, just but yeah, the household here is kind of weird with pets. Hey, Tom,
If they didn't eat cat poop, dogs would be a lot more adorable.
I got a cat that eats the dog's food.
Yeah, God, that is so gross. Hey, Tom, how you doing tonight?
Hey, Rusty. I'm
You
doing
enjoying
well.
our conversation?
I spent the week with the grandkids, had 3 grandkids over here. So,
Oh, I hope you didn't get a hernia or anything. You okay?
oh, I'm fine. We spent a lot of time in the lake swimming. So, I think we spent about 3 hours every day in the
I bet
water.
that lake's cold.
It's
Is that
actually
spring?
pretty nice. The weather's been pretty warm, so it's been nice.
Is that lake fed from a stream or is that a spring fed lake?
There's a creek on one side, then there's a dam with where the outlet is.
Mm.
Tom, you got
Um,
crappie in that lake?
yeah, we have lots of crappies.
Oh, good eating.
Yeah.
Oh, Bob, Bob Bishop on YouTube just got us back on track. The FAA had a good weight and balance handbook. It's free from their website, the FAA website. You just need to adjust the units, etc. It's FAA H-8083-1B.
Tom showed that last week when we were talking about it. He showed
Oh,
the
did
one
he?
which is FAA.
Oh,
But
okay.
FAA starts at the front at the prop and goes back, and the weight of the summing the moments uses it's like a teeter totter, and the pivot point is your CG. So you put
We
your
always start at the back of the prop, don't we, on models? At
well,
the drive plate.
we should start at the CG, and everything
Yeah.
on one side of the CG is positive numbers, and everything on the other side is negative numbers. So as you multiply and add these numbers together, you get to the pivot point or the CG, and then you start with the negative, and you start taking it up. And when you get to the end, you should have 0. That's when you sum the moments, you wind up with 0. Everything's in balance. Well, I've got 1.0127 inch ounces of positive or nose weight.
Until y'all came along, I had always wondered how anybody could possibly know where to put the CG on a plan they just designed before that aircraft was ever built.
Oh,
And now I know.
that's a good one, Russ. That's a good question. Do you want to know how I do it?
I bet you say, oh, we'll try 17% back from the lead edge and stick it there and fly it.
No, it's actually much more precise than that. You first off, after you've chosen your airfoil and all that, which doesn't make much of a difference, if any at all, on where the CG comes out. What you do is you find out where your mean aerodynamic center is of your wing, your mean aerodynamic chord. And
one of the first things you have to to learn when you're modeling. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's usually close to about halfway out. Depends on how much tape you have. There's another way of figuring it and get very exact to it. But when using the computer to design with, it's kind of neat because when I do the computer plot with the wing setup, it comes out and it marks right where the MAC is on each wing side. So at that point, that's where you measure your percentage. Now that where you're going to have your CG. What really matters now is the relationship between the area of the wing and the area of your stab and elevator. I should say the area of your wing and flaps and the area of your stab and elevator. For instance, this is a rule of thumb thing. It's pretty accurate. The rule of thumb says if you've got 20% of the airfoil, or if your stab and elevator is 20% of the wings area, then your CG will be at 20% at the mean aerodynamic chord.
Yeah.
Okay. If it's 24%, guess where the CG will be? 24%.
When you're measuring the wingspan, do you include the width of the fuselage too?
Yeah, because even though it's inside the fuselage has a lift component as well.
Right. Yeah, that's what I would have guessed. Just making sure.
Yeah.
I always have. Because I'm usually working on profiles and it's hardly enough to matter, but still, I was always wondered.
So now you've located, by using this rule of thumb with the stab and elevator, as opposed to the area of the wing and the flaps, and you include the flaps because they're part of the wing, okay? Once you establish what percentage, say 24%, at the mean aerodynamic chord, at that point, going through the mean aerodynamic chord, you do a line, horizontal, perpendicular, across the wing, and where it comes out the wingtip, that's where your CG will be at the wingtip.
Mm-hmm.
Now you can use Line 3 or some other programs where you can compute the how far back the lead outs should be coming out behind the CG. But another kind of little rule of thumb is about 2.5 to 3 degrees is fine. About in many cases on a standard airfoil or a standard size wing, about the thickness or the width of your thumb is a good starting point. Now, if you've got an adjustable lead out, don't go closer than an inch, because if you go closer than an inch, you're liable to get your lines caught up on each other. I do an inch to an inch and an eighth. I've never had in over 50 years of flying model airplanes, I have never had my lead outs catch and lock up on me because they caught. But it does happen if you got it closer than that. Okay. And so if you go an inch or ½ inch out from the center on each side at a minimum, that's pretty good. I like to put my up line in front, my down line in back, and there you go. You're pretty well set up as far as.
I usually put my up line in the back.
Why do you do that?
Because that's the way most kits come in the box.
Yeah, that's true. But think about it. What happens when you give down on the airplane that's flying? Why do you have to have a ray rudder and it only actuates when you give it down? It's because the plane
to account for yaw.
Cancels yaw, and you get yaw because it's 90 degrees out of the direction that you're turning the airplane. So if you turn the airplane this way, the yaw is now this way. It's inside the circle. by putting the downline in back gives more area out there. It tends to counter that, not completely, but it tends to counter. It gives you a fighting chance anyway of getting past that yaw being a big problem. Also, going the other way, when you go up, it wants to yaw out, and you don't want it doing this all the time when it's flying, and you're giving it control. You want it to try to stay on an even keel. So it's a good idea to put the up line up front, unless you're a sport flyer and all you want to do is fly around and cut some circles and do some fun things. You can do that. You know, you don't have to, but if you're a competition flyer and you want to make it so your airplane trims out, flies a little better, put the reverse the belt crank.
Yeah.
Bill, I saw your Buster video. Very nice figure 9 maneuver there.
I hate those figure 9s.
Yeah, and my cap, you know, they got my camera. It fell off because I was ducking, so it didn't hit me. Yeah, so everybody's telling me, I thought, you know, I'm using 52-foot lines on that electric 15 size. So I thought 60-foot lines would be what I'd want for 35, but everybody's saying, no, you want 52-foot lines on that.
58.
Depends on how fast you want it to fly. Don't get, well, you're a sport flyer, never mind.
When I'm sport flying, I like to fly fast.
Do you? 50
I
foot.
prefer to, yeah. It's more fun to me.
Uh-huh.
Well, I don't know. It took off, and right away I lost tension, and then it came right, you know, in, and it was like it was almost doing a wing over, and then it went straight.
Did you hook a weed taking off or something? Do you know if it was something like that?
What's
A lot of
that?
times you'll hook a dandelion and it'll pull the line and make it turn in.
Yeah, I don't know. That's possible too. And then I only had this small piece of clay for wing weight, you know. I mean, I built this thing when I was like 12 years old, and I was going to throw it away once, you know. It got all kind of fuel soaked in that, but I replaced the plywood in the front around the motor, but the wing spar I know was kind of weak, and that it busted the wing in half. So now I'm doing a proper repair on the wing, and I should have it going next week again.
You gotta replace the spars with some harder wood like basswood.
Well, I
Instead of
just placed
balsa.
them together with plywood in it, and then completely resheeted the center.
What did you use to splice the spars?
16th plywood across them.
That'll work. I had Bob Zambelli showed me the trick, and I know I've told y'all before, gouging it out across the brake pretty deep, and then gradually packing some carbon tow, you know, the string, carbon string,
Sure.
fold it over and pack it in and coat it with CA and just keep going back and forth and doing that. And when it hardens, it's like it's turned into a carbon fiber bridge, and that worked real good on my Oriental.
I've used a lot of that carbon in my free flight repairs. So the forecast tomorrow is 1 mile an hour wind, you know, like the middle of the day. So
That's hardly enough for flying control line. Just walk backwards when you do your loops and you'll be all right. Don't fly through the hole that you punched in the air on the previous loop.
Peter's got his. There it is. Spirit of Saginaw.
Spirit of Saginaw 3.
Yep, I figured I'd open it up and start on it. Nice plans, John. Very nice.
Thank you.
I figured I'll just start separating out the wing ribs and everything else from the sheets, and weigh everything on the scale. And like I did with the Vector 40 kit, I'm going to turn around. I'm not going to replace any of the balsa, but what I will do is I'll take the heavier pieces, heavier wing ribs and everything else, and I will mark them to be put on the outboard wing versus the lighter stuff to go on the inboard wing.
Hey, Peter, we used to have a rule of thumb when we go buying kits at the hobby shop. We'd take a scale there and we'd weigh the kits, and we'd buy the lightest one, and we found that on the average, what the kit weighed in the box and everything, as you're buying it, is pretty close to what the final weight of the airplane turned out to be. And so,
Weigh the box and everything.
Box and everything. That takes care of your glue, your covering, your paint, and all the other stuff. But it come pretty darn close to being what the airplane weighed. So, if you're buying a Nobler and the kit and the box there, they weigh 40 ounces, you were very close to being able to come out with a 40-ounce Nobler finished.
Yeah. Hey, Charles.
Unfortunately, we can't do that when we're buying mail order.
Say what?
You can't do that when you're buying mail order.
No, that's true. But I do it just as a matter of fact. When I get a kit here, I'll weigh it to see if it still works, if the old formula works. Plus, it also
Does it still seem to hold true?
Huh?
Does it still seem to hold true?
Yeah, and I also could tell if I get a real heavy kit, I know that I'm probably going to have to replace a lot of wood.
Yeah. Man, I've had some incredibly mismatched wood and good kits too. I mean, my Cardinal, let's see, which one was I building? Was it the Cardinal or I don't remember now, but I hadn't finished the Cardinal wing yet, so it's probably something else. But yeah, I started measuring the spars, and I had one that was 14 grams and one that was 5 grams. These are the two short pieces that you glue together, and it varied like that throughout the whole plane, the different halves.
Yeah, that's unfortunately with the balsa we have available for the last 10 years. It's pretty much the if they was able to ship you 4-ounce wood all the time, that kits would probably cost almost twice what they were costing. Now with the shortage on balsa, we just about have to take what we get.
I was so worried about it, I ended up going down to the hobby shop and just buying some new wood to cut up for the spars and the lead edge sticks.
Yeah.
And the trail edge sticks too. It was all variable weights.
Yeah. I was down looking at my kit cache earlier today. I was looking for something else. I remember now getting it. I've got a Walter Umland kit there. The Dick Mathis's oh come on, it's not the Coyote, it's the Excalibur. That's it. Now, I scratch built one of those 15, 20 years ago, and that plane flew far better than it should have been able to. It's a profile, doesn't use plywood for the doublers. It uses 1/2-inch balsa. So you've got a tripler up on the front that's 1.5 inches wide where the engine mounts, and then it drops down 1/2 inch before you get to the back of the wing, which is a legal profile. But that thing, it did not have sheeting on the leading edge. It had a somewhat sharp leading edge, you could dull it down a bit, but you didn't have a whole lot of way to go. But it used, he was a free flighter, so it used, what do they call them, the spars, turbulator spars on the, instead of sheathing. And
Yeah.
that thing flew a treat. That was really a nice flying profile.
Well,
What
I
you
got
looking
a
at there,
this
Peter?
week. So,
Oh, fly streak.
Oh, look at that. Let me make that big. Hold it up for a minute while I click you up and everybody can see it big. There we go.
Baby fly streak.
yeah.
Baby flight. You got a picture of George on there too.
Sure enough.
And that's the one with the built up wing, right?
It does have, yeah. I was impressed when you were flying yours, Rusty, in those videos, and
They really go, don't they?
yeah,
About 7 or 8 ounces, and I built heavy too.
uh-huh.
That was back before I really knew how to manage weight, and by the time it had been through that red, white, and blue, and by the time it had been through its first rack, it was pushing 9 ounces, not quite, but that was the one with the TD051, but it still really rocks out. Bob Zambelli said that's the best baby flight streak he's ever seen. I'll take that as a compliment because Bob loves flying fast and wild. And if he thinks it looks good, then it looks good.
I got a couple of hot 049s. I got a Fora, and I got an AME. I thought I was going to use them in free flights, but I don't know.
Either one of those will make it scream. I mean, those are fast engines. I got 2 of them. I got the one with the light blue wing, and I've got the Big MiG 061 on it, and the red, white, and blue one's got the TD051 on it. They're both really fast. I love them though. And I'm sure you've seen me flying the Little Satan too. That's my 3 favorite half-A planes, and man, they have lasted and lasted and lasted. I can't kill those. Now, I've let other people fly that red, white, and blue streak so many times that it's got a lot of repairs on it, but it still goes, except I think the engine's worn out because I still got Bill highlighted. I think the engine's worn out because it coughs out at the top of every loop, and I'm thinking the coil's getting wet or something like that. I'm not sure, but need to put a new engine on it and investigate it. I hate to see my old 05. Well, that was the first engine I ever bought. That 051 I got for $32 from a guy on eBay. It was used, and I don't know the history, but he was a nice guy. We wrote back and forth a couple of times after I got the plane built, and I showed it to him flying, and I was that was one of the best purchases. I was so I had buyer's remorse, you know. I was so, did I spend all this money on this engine? But I'll be danged if it wasn't worth it.
Got your money's worth out of it.
What'd you say?
See, you got your money's worth out of it.
I sure did. I think I can get more too. I just got to find out why it's coughing out. I got plenty of, I've got a couple of new piston and liner sets because when Bernie was selling them for the TD reproductions, I went ahead and bought several of those replicas of the number 4 piston and cylinder, and so they ought to wake it up pretty well.
Try your glow plug first.
Maybe I probably have, but I'll do it again. I don't fly Cox glow plugs. I fly those Merlin drop-ins like the ones that are on the Norvell half-A's with the clamp ring and the drop-in plug, and they are super high compression, so I stack them up. I start with 5 washers and then take one or two out if I have to, and usually don't, depending on the weather. If it's winter or summer, I might change it, but in the summer I might add a little bit more compression. But
Have you reset the piston?
on the I've checked it, and it was within what I consider tolerance. I don't like resetting pistons, except for when you first break one in. After it initially gets loose, I'll reset it, and then just hopefully never ever in the life of the engine have to do it again, because they get work hardened, and once they're work hardened, they're so hard to reset without mushroom in the crown of the piston that I just leave them alone.
Yeah.
To answer your question, I don't remember.
Okay.
The free flight guys, they put a different head on the AME, and then it uses a normal glow plug.
Yeah, that reduces the power a little bit, but those have power to spare too.
I had trouble with mine. I put it on this free flight, and then, well, first I ran it, at home, and I got it started and that. And then when I got out the field, I couldn't get the thing started. And the other thing was, whenever you put it in a starter, well, not every time, but a lot of time, it always would spin the nut off, and you'd lose it. So
Yeah.
I think it has to be hand started. And I think the problem I had was I didn't have enough pressure on it.
I buy starter springs for them. Every time I get a Norvell, I get a starter spring for it. And that works really well, especially with a bladder, because on a new engine especially, you'll flood it until you get the hang of where the needle's supposed to be set. Once you find that setting, it never really changes. But if you do flood it, then a spring comes in handy. You just brap until it starts firing, and then you're on your way again. But I've never used a starter on a half A before, except for the spring. I never used an electric starter on a half A.
Does anybody know what's happened to Denny Animation? I haven't seen him on here for a couple.
Oh, I got a text. I got not a text, but I got a PM from him a couple of shows after he stopped showing up, and he said he just didn't feel like he had anything to contribute at the time, and he'd been busy with the grandkids, and it was, I don't remember what else he said, but it was nothing any more serious than that. I don't think he's mad. He's not mad at anybody, or I don't think he got tired at us or tired of us, or maybe he felt like, sometimes it's hard to get a word in edgewise around here, especially when you're not the loudest speaker out there. Hey, Fred, how you doing tonight? Good to see you. I was wondering what you'd been doing. Hadn't seen you in a couple of weeks, I guess.
I'm in and out. I try to get on, but it's hard. But I was watching you guys, and I said I got to jump in.
Good. Glad to have you.
Thanks for inviting me. I do have a question when everybody has a second.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
All right. So I'm working on this Ringmaster. I haven't worked on it in a while, in a foam wing one. And the way you mount the bell crank, you kind of have to put it on. Can you see it on this bracket?
Yeah.
Let me blow it up big so everybody can see it. There we go. Okay.
So when you bring it to the elevator, it looks like it's going to be a good 2 inches away from the garage, and I'm afraid that it's going to bind, or it's going to flex when I hook it.
Guaranteed.
Yeah, that's a wire, isn't it? I always use carbon fiber tube, and that eliminates the flexing. Otherwise, you got to put a fair lead on it to grab it about half or 2/3 of the way back to keep it from flexing. But yeah, you're right, it's going to flex.
Do you fly clockwise?
Counterclockwise.
Okay. I was just
Normal. Yeah.
trying to find out where the lead outs they're going through.
Oh, they come through the fuselage. Here, hang on. They're going to come through the fuselage here.
Oh, okay.
You can't see this.
Oh,
I covered the fuselage with fabric. I put a little hole here and here. You can kind of see it here.
yeah.
If you got a room to do it, I would turn that bell crank around.
Yeah.
Turn it around and
I think so too.
get that wire
I
close.
put that bell crank on the inboard side.
No, not necessarily on the inboard side, but you can invert the bell crank actually so the arm that's sticking out right now towards the outboard wing faces towards the fuselage if you've got room to do that.
He might not have room.
You don't need it that long. You can use the inner hole, and it'll slow down your controls on that ringmaster. Be easier to fly.
You mean right here?
Yes.
Yeah, that's true.
Facing towards the fuselage and not out towards the outboard of the wing.
Yeah, turn it around
Road
180 degrees.
Yeah,
Demount it, turn
see
it
if
around.
you can. Yeah, just try it and see if you can make it so that at least you can use the inside hole.
So,
As far as flexing goes,
Yes.
a carbon fiber tube will solve that problem. And I use the small carbon fiber tube too. I don't even use the fat stuff.
on Facebook, there's a ringmaster, fan club or whatever you call it. And the guy, I think he's in Slovakia, put up a whole bunch of pictures of, because I was building this and I had a lot of questions, and he put up probably 40 pictures of it. And he kind of had it set up this way. So I tried it, but I don't like the way far away the wire is. I'm trying to figure out another way to do it.
Yeah.
That's not really a good way to do it.
Hi, Tran.
I mean,
Hey, Trey.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, guys.
Hey, Tran.
typically when at least I install my bell cranks on any of my planes, I turn them around and I basically have them mounted in this way where the lead outs are coming here, and then the push rod is going in this direction. Also puts your down lead towards the towards the back lead out line instead of the front, but that's personal preference.
We talked about that a little bit ago.
And the other problem is having that push rod going at an angle, you're losing a lot of strength. You want it to be as straight as possible. So if you move that thing the way we're describing it, that push rod to be more parallel.
I mean, he may not have the clearance. I mean, if the clearance isn't there, then the clearance isn't there.
Well, the thing is, if he's going to use the inside hole, which would slow down his controls real nicely, he'll have the room. He just cut off the excess on that short arm.
Well, I'm going to try to flip it right now while we're talking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It looks like you did a nice job on that plane.
That came out pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good looking plane. I've got to go visit the refrigerator. I'll be right back.
Alrighty.
You hear it calling?
It's a stick-on stuff called or something 651. I forget.
Cool.
I tell you, people, laser cutting is such a joy. Having laser cut parts. I remember, back in the day, you had these die cut kits, and sometimes the dies were like really old, and you just like crushed the balls.
Right. And they had to use a heavy wood just so they can get the parts cut out. They can't
Even
use
from
wood
crushing.
drop like wood.
It just drops out of it.
When I first started doing plans for John, we had a conversation about that, because when I first started doing it, he was still die cutting, and I'd lay out the setup for him to send over to the die maker to make the dies to cut it. And we talked about it. I said, why aren't you considering laser cutting? It's far better. And he says, because I don't have the equipment yet or now, and I do have, they used a little offset printing press to do the die cutting with. And he said, I have several of those. It's called a letter press. So anyway, and I said, but you get the die crushed. And he says, that's because the kit makers, guys making the kits are so cheap. They won't, the dies start to get dull, and they keep trying to use them, cut another 10,000 kits off them, and they turn out junk. He says, if I put out 500 kits and my dies are getting dull, he says, it's far better for me to get a new set of dies made and keep my quality of my kits up. That's the way John was. he spent the money to make sure that
Yep,
what he had was the best that he could do.
yep, he definitely was good to control line.
Yeah. You know, Charles, looking behind you there, over your left shoulder there, that's a big, the other shoulder there. That's a big poster or something there. And I thought
It's
that
to
was
my
the
left.
garage door open, and it was the sun shining out there. And I was thinking, wait a minute, it's got to be 10 o'clock at night there. He can't have that much light in his backyard.
It actually is pretty bright outside. It's pretty it'd be nice to go flying right now.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
hardly any wind and it's cooler. But yeah, it's bright outside. It's only
7:32.
7:30. It won't get dark till about 8:30 here.
Yeah.
8:30ish actually.
Well, it's 8:30 here, and we're further north than you. It won't get dark here till about 9 o'clock.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
So Charles, the one of the videos I was watching, I was noticing the comments, and the one guy, he was such a jerk, and I thought, well, why didn't you just delete those comments? That's what I do with people like that.
He gets
Oh, you know what?
dark about 9 or 9. Pitch black dark at 9:15, 9:30. That was last week too. This week it's.
Can you hear us, Rusty? Rusty, can you hear us? I don't think he can hear us.
No.
Anyways, Bill, I know that guy was pretty nasty, and I never even thought to delete it. Oh, you can hear us now, Rusty?
You can't hear me?
Oh,
we can hear you.
You're out of phase of the conversation.
Yeah.
He's on about another 30-second or 45-second delay again.
He was doing great until he went to the refrigerator.
Yeah, right. That's true. That's true.
Are you hosting tonight, Charles, or not?
Am I what tonight?
Are you hosting tonight?
I'm not sure. I can't understand the words.
Hosting. Are you the host?
Oh, no, I'm not hosting. Rusty wasn't feeling very good this week, and so we're going to try to get together next week.
Yeah, hey, man. That's what happened. Can y'all hear me now?
Oh, we hear you.
Yeah.
I was doing great till Steve came in. That's what happened. Steve blew me out. So we're good now?
Yeah.
So we're good now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're doing good.
We could hear you before, Rusty. It's that you were just getting it like 30 or 45 seconds after we said something.
Yeah, I know. That's what starts happening when the crowd gets bigger. We'll just have to deal with it until later on in the show. I'll keep rebooting. Y'all tell me when it happens and I'll reboot. It helps for a while.
All right. Anyways, Bill, did you like that video of Arrested Hernandez?
Yeah, I looked up some more of his flying.
Yeah, he's. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love Paul Walker and Dave Fitzgerald and Chris Cox, and there's a lot of flyers I'm not even mentioning. But I just really like watching Arrested Hernandez. Actually, I think he's just so cool when he does it. I think that's what I really like about him. Yeah, he's just so cool when he flies. And he won the world championship a couple years ago, and so there's merit to me admiring him, And so I was there at Golden State, and he was practicing. This is after the contest, and mind you, he drove from Florida all the way to California for the Golden State Stunt Championship. And matter of fact, that's coming up in October. So I would really encourage anybody who's listening online, to check out the Golden State because we have former world champions and former national champions. But great facility. But anyways, so he was practicing, and I thought I would focus in on the pilot itself.
Yeah.
Really interested in the physicality, how he positions himself, how he does it. And Dave Fitzgerald has a very unique style of doing it over and over. He actually kicks his leg out, and it's pretty kind of like a ballerina thing. And then Orestes has his own style, and I'm just trying to find my own style that fits for me, too.
I was kind of blown away Monday on the talk, and it was very interesting about, the trimming and adjusting of a control line. I mean, doing free flight, that's the whole thing is adjusting the plane and, of course, launching into thermals. But, I mean, I didn't have any idea there was so much that could be done with the adjustments of a control line.
Yep. Quite a bit.
Yeah, there's a lot. My red Strega, I have 2 Stregas. My red Strega has like 517 flights last count. I'm still fine tuning it. I find, I'll try this and try that, try the other. See if it makes an improvement, then I'll see how far I can go in that direction. And so to me, it's always constantly trying to find a little extra edge. And the biggest benefit of it is when you trim the plane, it gets easier and easier to fly. So for me, it's a continual pursuit, because if I can get it to do things easier, I mean, it's a win-win, because I can, when you first start flying, sometimes you have to white knuckle some things because it's out of trim, and then as you get it in trim, it's really easy, relaxing. Have you checked out the video of me flying Sparky's plane, Bill?
I'm not sure.
I didn't realize there was one.
Yeah,
I need to check that out.
It's on my channel. Actually, Sparky has it on his channel, but I digested it down to just flight. There's a lot of stuff prior to me actually rolling out on Sparky's video, which is still a very good video. Actually, he kind of interviewed me, asked some questions, but my audio, I wasn't speaking loud enough. So on my channel, I have just basically when John Jordan, who's on Saturdays with Sparky, John Jordan is pitting for me, and he launches my plane, or launches Sparky's plane, excuse me. But yeah, it's on my channel, Bill. If you look at it, that's I mean, I only had about 2 patterns prior to the official flight, so I really did not know the plane, and I was the plane flies great. My trust level, I just needed to have more handle time with that plane. I would have gotten more and more brazen with it, going down lower, sharper. But it was a great flying plane. And it's a pretty good
I have
video.
a hard time finding things on Sparky's channel sometimes too. Even if you want to watch these reruns, they're hard to find. They're scattered about or something.
So I think we have a verdict. He's looking at his bell crank, and it looks like
there he is. Yeah.
Just make it.
Oh, okay.
Let's see that.
Let me make him big over here.
I had to cut one length off of it, but it is much better.
Yeah, look at that.
Oh, that moves fine. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That Ringmaster's got too much motion. The Ringmasters are built with too much motion anyway, so you got room to spare.
What, do you need to cut this and double it up so it doesn't flex as much? Or
No.
No, it's a pretty short tail. If it was a long tail, maybe, but that's a pretty short tail, so I think not.
If you take your rotor,
It's easy to make a stay. It's really easy to make a stay because it's so close to the fuselage guys.
Yeah, now it's much better. I like it this way a lot better.
yeah, what you need to do is you take a screw, solder a washer,
Yeah.
You do that.
and then put it through the fuselage. Run that through that washer opening.
Yeah.
That'll keep that from flexing so much.
Oh
You can
yeah,
take-
well,
you
yeah.
can
Once
take
you get it
the-
rigged up, once you get it rigged up, hold the elevator and try to move it with the lead outs, and you can see whether it flexes or not, and then you'll know where to put the fair lead to restrict it, or do like I said first and put carbon fiber tube on it. I use 5/16 carbon fiber tube, and that will not bend.
No.
I was that.
Hey, John,
John, you leaving, John?
No, I'm just waving, saying I want to say something.
Oh,
I'm
say
gonna
something,
say-
John.
I was gonna say, rather than soldering a washer on a screw and all that, get yourself a cotter pin, big enough for
Yeah.
that wire to pass through. Put it in there, set it up, get the length, the standoff distance right, and glue it into your fuselage with some epoxy. Works great.
That'll work. Yeah.
I'm working on this Brodak Tomahawk, and I had the roof done, and the guys were shaking the freaking house when they were doing the roof, and the thing fell off my bench and broke the tail off. So I got pissed.
Oh, man. Well, why don't you sue them?
Ah, crap.
Yeah.
Yeah, they must have really been shaking your house.
They were shaking the shit out.
Whoops,
Sorry.
there goes one ding.
Yeah, one nickel.
Sorry about that. When is the control line Nats?
In July.
Was it the 16th it starts? I don't know.
I think that's in that ballpark.
Is anybody going to it?
There are
Yeah.
they've
A
got
lot
enough
of
to
people.
make a contest.
I know Sparky's going to it.
Yeah, I watch him a lot. He talks about it a lot on his channel.
Yeah, Sparky's taking the Junar. Gonna fly the plane I flew last year.
I love that plane.
So do I, Sparky. I mean, Rusty. That is when he is working on it on video, it's like just watching that, I just kind of fall in love with the plane all over again.
Is that your vector there, Tran?
I was videoing his flight at Triple Tree. I was videoing his flight at Triple Tree in 2018 when it cut off in the middle of the exit to the Cloverleaf, and he had to whip it to get 2 laps before he landed.
No,
Yep.
He still scored over
Is
500.
that you, Tran?
Yeah,
Is
I
that
saw that
the vector?
video.
this is the Revolutions.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it looks nice.
I just discovered
Yeah, it
that
does.
the wing was doing a little bit of this.
Yeah.
So I'm adjusting my my pins that come and lock in the wing, so I stopped that because it's kind of acting a little bit funny. Outside maneuver is very nice and crisp and stuff like that, but on the inside it's kind of funny. So I thought like when I'm going inside, it's gonna do was doing a little bit of this, so getting me a little bit looser line tension, and that's not good. So I'm readjusting it, no big deal. That's what I'm doing now. Just make
Cool.
sure it doesn't flex. Yeah, this is solid.
Hey, Lynn.
Yeah. It's good
Hey,
now,
Lynn.
Hi, Lynn.
Mr. Lan.
I think he's muted.
Oh, yeah, Lynn, your mic is muted.
So you guys were looking at
There we go.
You guys were looking at the tail of this, guys. You see the dihedral in it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, just a little
Yeah, just a bit.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. That is a cool airplane.
See that? So I did that to keep it in cleaner, but if you look at it from this direction, you can see how much sweep back it has into it.
Right.
Oh, wow. Quite a bit.
So
Using a lucky box on that?
and the main reason was because here on the root of the fuselage, if you try to make this mold this, and they're pretty deep, you know, to make this hinge line straight out, it's kind of hard to do that. So I just trying to keep to the minimum here, the part that goes into the fuselage. So
Wow.
all right, so right now I'm looking forward to go back out and see how it does. Just double check things, and I did like 9 flights on it the other day, 9 or 10 flights yesterday. So I'm trying to get used to it. Just get my timing correct. Just fly a little bit crisper, a little bit cleaner.
You gonna make it to the next Brian?
I don't know. Right now, I don't know. I wish I did. If I get a job and I have to start the
My
job,
camera's off.
if my job starts and I cannot leave, so I cannot make it. But if I have the opportunity, I'll go for it. Yeah.
What do you got? You got some signs that you may get a job here?
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
Trade.
That's good.
I summed the moments on my Vanguard, and I wound up. I've got 1 inch ounce of positive, so I'm a little nose heavy.
Okay.
That's
That's
with,
how much?
no, that's with. I had to guess on some of the weights because I don't have my scale here working, but I think I'm pretty close.
Yeah. That's very, very close. You know, imagine you have 1 ounce and you're hanging 1 inch in front of your CG. That's how much force you have. That's not much of anything. It's good.
Alrighty. There is a problem with the Brodak kit.
What is it?
I'm sure do you recognize the speech, John?
Yeah, that's for the simulated jet engine intake along the root of the wing.
Aren't there supposed to be 2 of them?
Huh?
Aren't there supposed to be 2 of them?
There should be 2 of them.
There's only 1 in the kit.
Only 1 in the kit, and you hold it upside down.
Oh no, it's supposed to go like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's only one. Yep. Damn it.
Give them a call. They'll send you one.
Yeah, that's what we do.
What does that weigh? You may want to make you some new ones.
Yeah, that means I have to find someplace. I'm going to find, what is that, 3/8 inch balsa? Oh, excuse me. 0. That weighs a total of 0.9 ounces. That's with the centerpiece still in there.
Yeah. That's probably not bad. I mean, if you had 4 ounce wood, you probably could cut that in half.
Yeah, the thing is, I don't have any wood here at all. Or I would do just that. I'm just going to have to give them a call and say, hey, your Spirit of Saginaw kit came with only 1 of these.
Yeah.
All right.
They're good for fixing that. You know that.
Are they back? I wonder if they're back in the factory working again or not.
The way they were some were working and some weren't, and then they'd swap so that they, half the week one crew's in it, the other half the week the other crew, as I understood it.
Oh.
Parker runs the laser cutter and does some of the CAD work for them that they do locally. I know my drawings get put in there and he checks them out and sets it up and prints the plans and all that off of it. does the work for setting up the laser off. I set up the laser cut files for him, and then he'll check them out, make sure. Then they use those to cut the laser part.
Wow.
So Charles, that one
Yeah.
plane you had like an 80 size engine in it.
Yeah.
Right.
Now doesn't there take a pretty good sized fuel tank for some that big?
No, not really. It's I can do the stunt pattern on less than 5 ounces.
That's right.
Wow.
But that's a stalker. It's running FAI fuel.
Yeah. There's no nitro. That also reduces the fuel consumption as well.
Did you fly this week? Did you fly this week, Charles?
I went flying today, but I had fun helping other people fly. I had a guy that comes by half the time and watches me fly. He's 77 years old, and I have a trainer, and so I was helping fly the trainer. And then I have another friend who flies mostly combat. I was helping him trim his new Vector. A mutual friend of ours built from a kit the Vector 40, and so I was helping him on the outside circle, watching his plane and trimming him, and so I was really just kind of giving back to the hobby today. But I tell you what, that 77-year-old man was so happy. I think he's going to be coming out regularly.
Good.
Yeah.
Give the old guy something to do.
Yeah.
You know how old I am, Charles?
What?
You know how old I am?
No.
77.
Oh
wow. Well, if you want, you can fly my trainer also, John.
Oh, Dad.
Oh.
Take it to the contest. I'll fly it there.
It can barely loop. I don't know.
Oh, well, I better beg off for a better one than that then.
Actually, I don't think I can loop. I've tried to go up, and I kind of lose my patience. I'm so used to a plane being more responsive. So, yeah, it's a good trainer. And I actually crashed 2 times, and the plane just broke a prop. So it's a really good trainer.
Cool.
So, Sparky, feel good to be home, or does that kind of seem like you're on vacation now? You haven't been there so long.
Yeah, I'm on vacation.
Yeah, that's all right, John. And then this piece was included in the kit. I have absolutely no idea what it's supposed to be for. I don't even think it belongs in the kit.
Whoa. I don't recognize that piece.
It's a fish.
They gave me one of these.
Well, that might be the tripler on the inboard side.
Not a chance. That's the fuselage. I don't.
You got it upside down.
Or anything.
It's the canopy wood.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Let's see. Let's see how that works out.
Well, don't throw it away. There might be a reason for it.
I'm not going to throw it away. Yeah, I ended up getting only one of these, but they gave me one of these.
Well, there you go. What are you crying about?
Hey, hey, Sparky.
Yeah, for this.
I don't think I can make it. I got a long drive tomorrow.
Yeah.
Are you headed back?
Yeah. Got to get a few practice flights in Sunday.
Yeah, you do. We all do. We got contests coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a contest in August and one in October.
I got to burn 10 gallons between now and the nap.
That's a lot of flying.
Yeah. My arms will be tired.
Okay, that makes sense.
Well, not from starting with your routine. I mean, just one whack and that thing starts right up.
Yeah. I got it all doctored up, ready to go.
Yeah.
Did you end up putting your numbers on, or did you put on your numbers in a different way?
Now I'm going to put the numbers on in Dayton.
You can't fly right there in St. Louis?
Well, I can, but there's nobody to fly with.
Isn't
That looks
there
like a piece of scrap.
there?
See that either.
Got a big pile of trash on the table there.
You can rip it down the middle and make a cockpit.
Sparky, on your stab, what do you figure that has to be 3 ounces or less? Is that what hinges the
Yep.
horn and everything?
Yep.
That's painted and everything.
Yep. 3 ounces. Got to be less than
Yeah, that's
3.
what I'm saying. Rip it in half and make a cockpit.
Landing gear is less than 3. A cowl is less than an ounce. A top block's an ounce. Bottom block's a half ounce.
Somewhere during your bill, the plans are going to, you say, take that piece of scrap wood.
Oh, okay. That's kind of weird.
Is there somebody talking in the background?
It's
Yeah, I
on
don't know who.
Fred's. It's coming through Fred's.
I hear like somebody's wife talking to him or something.
Yeah, if you watch, it comes up on Fred's, a little blue light when you hear it.
Well,
So, I missed part of your video. What happened with the red and the white? It bled through?
who are you talking to?
You, Sparky.
What happened to what?
Did you had some red bleed through the white or something?
No, I haven't even painted red.
Oh.
My tucker's all in
Your
white.
picture.
Right now.
Yeah, I seen it in white. I was trying to pick up. I got
Your
on
picture.
late live, and then I couldn't go back to see what you were talking about.
Your picture's frozen, Sparky. Need to restart your camera.
He's moving. I think it's you, Rusty.
Don't matter. I'm gonna get off here anyway. I'm tired.
Now it's working.
Too much sanding.
Yeah.
I put a monkey in sleep.
I mean, Sparky, have a safe trip. Drive careful.
Oh yeah. Appreciate it, guys.
Good night, Sparky.
All right, man.
Take care, Sparky.
You're gonna have to boot back in there, Rusty.
We gotta get busy.
Anybody been building anything else?
I got a stab all hinged up and everything, but
Okay.
this
What's that? Well, that's a big stab. What's that for?
SV11.
Okay. Looks good.
Very nice.
Yeah. Oh, I meant to tell everybody. Remember here 2 weeks ago when my power went out?
Right.
Yeah.
So I didn't lose everything. I took everything out of the freezer and refrigerator and took it over to my mom's. Well, when I was cleaning out the freezer, I found 3 bottles of glue that I didn't know I had.
Hey, very good.
And then I was worried about when we had everything was shut down because of the virus. I didn't have any glue, and I couldn't order any. And I actually had 3 bottles in the freezer.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I meant to tell everybody that. I'm like, hey, I just buy shit and forget I have it.
You're not alone in that. I've done that before.
Guess what? You're over 50. Happy trails.
Sometimes I find it easier to go buy a new one than try to find it.
Yep.
Well, what I did was, instead of taking my time when I put stuff in the freezer, I just put it all in there and it just pushed the glue back behind it. Hell, I didn't even know it was there.
Yep. Pretty common. I find all kinds of good shit that I didn't know I had all the time. Drives me crazy. I'm like, really? When did I get that? I don't remember getting that. Hey, you look pretty good in red.
Yeah, I got my covering. Now I got to figure out how in the hell I'm going to do the stuff. I don't know if I want to try to paint it. I never tried to paint monocoat, but
why would you?
For your trim color. Instead of cutting pieces of trim and ironing it on.
Just cut.
I think.
Just use trim sheets. They're peel and stick. So simple.
Yeah, when I'm ready to cover this thing, I'll do it. I'll give I'll wait until we have one of these chats, and I'll kind of set up a camera and stuff. So give you guys an idea how at least I do it.
I just use peel and stick trim sheets, but I make sure I don't have anything with a sharp point on it.
Oh, okay.
Because that otherwise anything that comes to a really sharp point will peel up. The little points will peel up. If you have to have a really sharp point on it, put a bit of CA right on the tip of it. Gives it a half a chance of staying down. But I don't do it anymore. I use only rounded shapes for trim. And it works great.
I think John paints over monocoat. Don't you paint over monocoat, John?
I have, but I use most of my monocoat is over silk span or something like that. But I have used epoxy to paint trim on, and I've used Rust-Oleum. And there's something else I used. It was one of the car finishes, spray can finish. It adhered to the monocoat really quite well. That's what it was. I've done that for my trim primarily.
Yeah, I thought about. Now I know that some guys do dope and then they clear over everything, but I thought about using paint masks and then just paint, paint my trim on with dope and then cover the whole.
You better scuff up the monocoat than if you're going to use dope, because it needs a tooth. It can't make a chemical bond with the monocoat where there are some paints that'll make a chemical bond. Well, even those, it's a good idea to scuff them a little bit.
I've seen them guys out of Brazil that do that, where they paint dope over top of their monocoat and clear everything. And I mean, man, they really come out nice.
I've seen some really good monocoat jobs, and I know how hard it is to get a good monocoat job. I do not agree with the fact that people, the best you ever got with a monocoat finish was 18 points. And
that's pretty impressive.
yeah, usually you get about 13 or 14 at the most. It was a really good job. One of my buddies, I'm trying to remember his name. Anyway, he does foam wings that are sheeted with wood, and he uses monocoat on those wings.
Yeah.
And his monocoat jobs are so good, you cannot find a seam, and you know most people think he painted it, and he
That's
doesn't.
awesome.
He doesn't tell them any difference. He also paints on his trim, and I forget. He told me once what he used. The trouble with like using Rust-Oleum is it's heavy. You got to be careful about that.
But what it is that on the stab, you know, I can, you know, put on trim colors or whatever, but on an open bay wing, I don't know how them guys change all the different colors in there when there's nothing to iron it down to, and they iron that seam on or something. I mean, some of them guys are really good at doing that.
Well, there's two ways.
Monocoat, if you're going to do monocoat, obviously, and you're going to do trim, it's kind of like you have to plan everything out in advance. It's not just good enough to put it down there. I don't have anything open right now. Hold on, wait 1 second. Let me give you just one moment. Here we go.
He's absolutely right. What he's saying. If you're going to do your trim with monocoat, and there's two ways to get it on using all monocoat trim without using trim sheet. And one of them is I make a. There you go. How's that?
That plane is all super monocoat. There's no stick-on trim whatsoever on it. The whole plane, wings, the fuselage, everything is monocoat.
But that's not an open bay wing. That's a solid wing. I can do solid wings, but it's open bay that I have the problem with.
Well,
there's another one. There's an open bay wing, and it's completely and totally monocoat as well. All super monocoat, none stick-on stuff.
Steve, one of the things I started to tell you, there's two ways to do an open wing with monocoat. One of them is like I'll make a pattern with my trim on it. I'll lay it all out, and I'll cut the piece of that pattern, and I cut it so I can get a 1/4 inch overlay. And I'll start from the back, and I'll lay this out on a piece of glass, and I'll use a trim iron, and I'll glue them together and make the whole sheet all in the colors and everything that I want. And then I'll lay that sheet on. I'll lay that sheet on and use it like it's a single sheet. You got to be careful of pulling and stretching that you don't get too much heat around where your joints are. But you can cover it and look nice. Now the other way, and the way I prefer, is to get something like either silk or silk span and put that on. Put just one coat of dope, thin 50-50. You just got using that to kind of size the silk or the silk span, and then you glue it. You put your monocoat right to that, and you go around the trim and you use your heat gun and you seal it. You got one of those mitts in the other hand. You going right behind you, just pressing it down to it. And
okay. Now, as like John was saying, you think. Let's say you want to do something like this, right? What you can do is you take your monocoat, your super monocoat, and you cut a panel out roughly the size, bigger than the size that you want. You want plenty of room to grab on and stretch when you want to pull it around the edges. What you do is you take that piece, you don't peel off the sticky back stuff from it yet. You put it down on a flat surface. Then you turn around, you cut your other super monocoat pieces to the trim or the shapes that you want to do it. In this case, I took metallic blue. I cut out a piece, and then I turned around with a roller, with one of those roller blade knives and an X-Acto knife. I cut out the space in that one piece of blue for the transparent under the wing. Then what I did is I took my super monocoat, I peeled off the sticky part of the blue. I took my transparent blue and I sprayed it with a little bit of vinegar and water, and then I laid the blue part, this blue part, over the transparent piece underneath, and then I squeegeed out all the air between the two layers. And I did the same thing with the gold here and the same thing with the chrome here. And this was just laying on a table flat. Now, once all that was done and you let it dry a bit, super monocoat will actually stick to itself. Once the air is all gone, then I turned around. I just took that whole sheet that was already laid out like this, laid it on the wing, and just started tacking it down the normal way. And it worked. And it works. it absolutely works.
I really like your job.
Yeah, you can do a surprisingly good job with monocoat once you've practiced it. I like to try to keep all my laps. I start at the back and work forward so I don't have any laps that are facing into the airstream. But sometimes it's impossible to do that, so you have to be careful. Once in a while, you'll have to have a lap that's facing into the airstream.
Did you paint this fuselage?
No. This is all monocoat, all of it.
Oh, okay.
And you know,
nice.
if you go over put silk span or silk on the open bay, you'll never have to ever reheat it because it won't shrink up, it won't bag up or anything else. It'll stay taut. That's the nice thing I like about going over silk or silk span. I've got a legacy that I did that too, and it's probably 17, 18 years old now, and it's still as tight as the day it went on.
Like what it is, I got that transparent. The only thing I don't like about transparent, if you bring it all the way to a wingtip or the leading edge, where you seam the seams at is always darker than the rest.
Yeah, exactly. I agree.
Well, that's where you do like what Peter did, and see, he put his trim over the top of that gold trim.
Yeah.
He put that over that joint. See, and so what you're doing, like with transparent, is you're putting the transparent underneath the joining pieces around it, so it minimizes the fact that it looks like it gets darker there because it's not doubled there.
Right.
But yeah, you gotta think it through before you do it. But with some practice, you can do an awful nice looking job with monocoat.
Yeah. Is that was that all transparent monocoat or just one some transparent and some opaque?
It was opaque. His was opaque, except for in the center where he had that transparent blue.
Yeah. It's pretty sharp.
Yeah. I really love this. I mean, on a nice woodwork, I really love this transparent paint jobs, transparent monocoat and stuff like that, so you can see through some of the grain of the wood and stuff like that. Like Fitzgerald, his Stargazer, he had like a yellow one, several yellow ones that he made them all with just some yellow.
I always enjoy.
Yeah. So there were like
I
yellow.
always enjoy seeing what Bruce Jennings does.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, I'm gonna
I always enjoy seeing what Bruce Jennings brings.
and I'll show you how at least I'll do the wing because I'm gonna do something similar to this.
Yeah, Bruce Jennings has some nice models. Rusty, you're right. They're really good looking.
He sure does. They're just always so beautiful.
They have a carbon fiber pattern, self-adhesive. You know,
He's got a new one every year, it looks like.
heat adhesive covering, and I'm going to be using some of that. It's expensive as all hell, though. It's like $15 for a square yard.
Yeah. Well, my Vanguard, I've already determined the Vanguard's going to be all monocoat. Fuselage, everything.
Yeah, I can't monocoat on a fuselage worth of shit.
Me neither. I've never been able to make it work. It never sticks around the motor, and when you're flying a lot of flights, it always comes off.
Well, I just can't get it to look good to make all these compound curves and stuff like that.
And what do you do in
the compound curve? With compound curves, like let's say between where the wing joins the fuselage, usually you'll run some hobby epoxy or something in there to create a fillet. What you do is you cover that. Actually, what I do is I cover those areas first. You take a piece of monocoat about ½ an inch, 3/4 of an inch wide. You start at the trailing edge, you tack it down, and then as you're moving it along the root of the wing, what you do is you have a damp towel or something or something cool that you can cool it down with. So if you're heating it, you kind of almost need 3 hands to do it, but as you're heating it or you're stretching it, you're pulling it into the curve, into that convex curve, you're running your towel or your damp towel behind, right behind the heat, and it just sticks it right down, and it goes right into that particular part of the wing. So you do the top, and then you do the bottom, and then you do your fuselage and your wings afterwards. So any place where there's a vertical seam, that any 2 vertical seams that join, you do that little inside part of it before you do anything else.
Oh wow! Okay.
And you start on the bottom. You start on the bottom and work towards the top. So again, all your seams are on the bottom.
Your seams.
And as far as lens problem with fuel getting underneath around the nose and that, there's a product called Stix-It or Glue It or whatever. It's for monocoat type coverings, and you paint it on like dope. You let it seal up, and that's a heat treated or heat activated glue. And in those areas, you use that. It really sticks it down, so that.
I always brag about how good I am with monocoat, but honestly, all I ever do is the wings, and I paint the rest.
And there's nothing wrong with that, obviously.
Yeah.
The other trick is when you have a lot of curves and you're trying to get these curves where a lot of people complain, oh, I get all these little wrinkles, these little wrinkle edges, when I go around a curve, no matter what I do. What the thing is, the 2 things with monocoat is, number 1, you're going to waste a lot. There's no 2 ways about it. But if you want to get around a curve or any kind of outside curve, like the tips of your flaps or a wingtip or something like
I've seen monocoat sealer.
And what you do is you have to have enough excess that you can grab onto that monocoat fairly well. When you're applying the heat, so you don't burn your hands, you turn around and you heat the monocoat before you hold it in the air away from the surface. Heat it up, and then stretch it, and then pull it right down against the surface while you're heating it. And monocoat does stretch quite a bit, and it gets rid of a lot of those little jaggy edges, what you end up with. And the other thing is, you have to have a very good supply of very, very sharp razor blades. As soon as you turn around and trim something, and that number 11 blade or whatever snags,
you got to brute force it sometimes.
I don't know if anybody watched Dane Martin on his YouTube deals about how to monocoat.
Yeah, I've seen them. They're pretty good.
And he did a ringmaster, I think it was, and where the plywood doubler goes on, you got that.
Yeah.
Step. He showed how to.
Peter's exactly right. That's how you do it.
He makes the step, and it's never stuck down.
Yep.
He did
Yeah,
the whole
Peter.
airplane, and it looked like he molded a piece of plastic. You could take it off. You could just take it off and put it on. He had it all molded. Then he ironed it down. And how in the hell I tried to do that? I can't do it.
Takes practice.
Yeah, Monaco turns around. If you make a mistake and you turn around, you feel like it's bunching up too much in one spot. You can turn around and lift that off as long as you keep it warm. You can lift it off.
He's an expert.
And then
Yeah, Dane's good.
Who is that?
Dane Martin.
Dane Martin.
I think he's in Arizona. I think.
He's on
Hey,
YouTube.
Rusty, you're way behind us, Rusty.
Give it 5 minutes.
Yeah, he'll be back.
The point that I like to make or want to make on this is I do a lot of monocoat finish just because, well, my wife's passed away now, but she couldn't take the fumes from Haiti. So I did a lot of monocoat because that didn't smell up the house and she could handle that. But if you practice and get good at it, it's very difficult to find flaws in some. Norm Whittle, that's the guy I try to think. Norm Whittle did beautiful monocoat jobs, and you can't. It's very difficult to tell that it's monocoat. And I really know what it
Part of the show that I can't participate in.
What I have found is that if you take the time to learn how to do it, it takes time. It takes.
This is the part of the show that I just can't participate in.
It takes considerable time to do a good monocoat job. What were you saying, Rusty?
I'm saying this is the part in the show that I just cannot participate in.
Oh.
No, I'll beg to differ with you, John. You can always tell it's a monocoat finish for the simple reason it's a monocoat finish. There is just something about paint that gives it. Monocoat does not have the depth. Doesn't give you the depth or the luster that that paint does. Monocoat looks like plastic pretty much because it is plastic. That's the one thing I have to differ.
You make a good point, Peter, but I have seen, take, for instance, my friend Norm Whittle, he polishes the monocoat, just as he paints his fuselage, and he polishes the monocoat and the fuselage, and they look identical. It's hard to tell that the fuselage is painted and the wings are monocoated. It can be done if you're good enough at it.
Some people put some clear on top of the monocoat and they deal with that. But there's one person in particular that I kind of took this to heart from when he told me this. As he said, so many people are spending a whole winter and a whole spring before the nats to get those 2 extra points in a paint job, and he said, I monocoat my planes. I'm ready to go out and practice, and you can make those points easily in a flight. And he was getting like 16, 17 points even sometimes on his monocoat jobs, and appearance at the net, so which is pretty nice. And I mean, you don't lose a whole lot. And he actually, his name is Alan Golf, by the way.
I know Alan.
Yeah.
Alan Goff. Yeah, I like Alan. I know.
All I know is on that score, that one score I had a damaged wing. I peeled off all the monocoat, and I figured, well, I'm gonna paint this thing. I'm gonna put silicone dope and I'll paint it. So I peeled off. I weighed it before the way it came out of the box, and it weighed like 13 or 14 ounce. The thing was heavier than shit.
Yeah.
But I peeled off all the monocoat, flaps, wing, everything, reweighed it, 1.1 ounce.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I'm like, there is no way in hell I could, scores are heavy anyway. If I would have painted the damn thing,
you'd never do it.
Brick.
Exactly.
So if lighter planes fly better, if you can knock off 6 or 8 ounces off an airplane,
For sure. I agree.
is it going to fly better to where,
You better believe it is.
I mean, what is more worth to you, going out and practicing and improving your flight, or spending a whole winter and a whole spring and a whole whatever, to
maybe
polish
get
a
3 more
paint?
points. Yeah, to
To
maybe
get 2
get
points
3 more
extra.
points.
It's
not
not
worth
worth
it.
it. That's why I said.
Me to monocoat my Strega.
That's why I always say, if you are in a learning process, you try to learn the pattern, you try to do, improve and get started or whatever, you're in the beginning stages. You're not like this super experts where 1 point makes the difference from winning or losing the first place in open. I mean, you don't care that much about it. Even in advanced than that, I'd say, if you can even fly advanced than that with a Monaco job, that's nicely done, and be very, very successful at it. I mean, I
say, I agree totally.
Unless you have to just Monaco the damn thing and wait until you go and open at the nets and you're in the top 5. I mean, to actually qualify consistently in the top 10.
What part of the hobby you like?
True. It's also true. I mean, it's room in a hobby for everybody, right? Some like electric, some like internal combustion, some like Monaco, some love to paint, or just want to give it a try. Whatever floats your boat.
Exactly. Whatever you like.
Exactly.
Yeah. The main drawback to Monaco, which I kind of really miss, is I used to love to do gradients.
Just depends on what part of the hobby you like the best.
You can't do gradients in Monaco.
Mm-hmm.
Can't do what?
Gradients.
Oh, okay, yes. No, you can't do that.
I'm not. I haven't done too much gradients anyways to worry about it. So.
Either have I.
What airplane was that had like a checkerboard on it and it looked like a ghost finish? It was a blue one that you had. I think you named.
What?
Yeah.
I'm going to say goodbye, guys. Maybe Rusty can get back on here and hear better if it was me that messes up his.
Good night, Steve.
Steve, I think you're just trying to avoid putting a quarter in the jar.
Yeah, right.
3 weeks in a row. 3 weeks.
Have a good weekend.
Have a good weekend.
Yeah, right,
have a good one, Steve.
Well, let me know Monday if this helped you, Rusty.
Yeah.
If what helps me.
No, I guess it didn't.
Hey, Peter, I have a question. I don't understand having the cooling rag as you're doing that fillet. What does the cooling rag do for you?
What it does is it allows you to, as you're stretching it and the material is coming over the top of the surface of the material underneath under your fillets or whatever, it basically sticks it down so it turns around and it doesn't. Monocoat has a tendency, if you're not careful, to bunch up or try to has a mind of its own to do some really weird things, like all of a sudden have a bunch of air bubbles and whatnot underneath it. If you're following along and you're heating something and you're following along as you're pulling it down, following along with a wet rag or a damp, and that's a damp rag, it turns around and it sets the monocoat adhesion and does not allow the monocoat to turn around and deform any more than you want it to.
It doesn't allow it to creep.
All right, I get you now. That makes a lot of sense. I'm gonna try that. I've never used a cooling rag or.
It comes in handy on convex curves. Anything that is not compound, not an outside curve, but an inside curve, like along the fillet line. It just makes sure you get it down in there evenly across the entire surface, because you're only dealing with a strip that's maybe 3/4 or an inch wide, and you want to make sure it like actually gets stuck down into that curve as you pull it along.
I follow you. Hey, thanks a lot. That's helpful information. I've watched the Monaco videos that Top Flight put out, and I've even bought. I think it was the guy that won the. It's a big Monaco contest. I forgot what it's called. This guy's made a name for himself. I have like 3 of his magazines or books on Monaco. So I mean, I really have. What?
Henry Higgins?
No, not Henry Higgins. It's another guy, and he's won like the Wham or something several times.
Charlie Bauer?
Nope.
Sorry.
Henry Higgins, that was the guy on Mary Poppins.
You have to remember when you have something, when you have a piece, when you have material that's like hold on, like this,
right?
If you're trying to get something down, Monaco will try to like pop up. If you're trying to get in here, especially if it's not just a valley, but it's a valley that bends from front to back.
Right.
So the whole point is you tack it down in the back, you heat it, and and typically what I'm doing is I'm kind of like holding the heat gun here, and I've got the strip of Monaco like wedged between these 2 fingers, and I'm just like pulling it across like this as I'm going down. My other hand, I've got this rag that I'm pushing down into the space as I'm going along, and I'm making sure that Monaco is, actually sticks down and follows that dual compound curve. So, and
I see what you're saying.
Makes sure it sets quickly so it doesn't lift back up.
So Peter, the question I have for you is that so you have 3 pieces, one that goes on the fuselage, one on a wing, and a third one it's in a fillet area. Is that correct?
Yes,
okay.
Correct.
Yeah. So you don't really worry about putting the wing on a fillet or the fuselage on a fillet.
Well, basically, you do the fillet first. This way, when you put your wing panel on, it overlaps the piece that you have going on the fillet, and then your fuselage piece overlaps it as well.
Okay. Yeah. And by the way, I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm gonna steal that idea using the translucent.
Go right ahead. It's really that's when I I haven't built for many years. I didn't build a built-up wing. I did like a Magnum. It was a sheeted foam wing, and I said if I'm going to do a built-up wing, I want at least to show the structure.
Yeah.
Right.
So I really like that. Anyways, that's what I wanted to say. It's those just blue translucent monocoat and then just blue monocoat.
Yes, yeah. What it was is, and the blue, the transparent blue was underneath this metallic blue monocoat that's available. That pearl blue, and the opaque monocoat covers the sheeted surfaces, but where the sheeted surfaces are delineated are not covering the actual open structure. That's where I use the transparent.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah. I might want to use transparent just all across.
Yeah, but then you have to make sure that your sheet, all of the I did it to cheat because my sheeting and my balsa, you have to be really careful when you're using transparent, because if you're using filler on the balsa, it will show through. So I wanted to get a smooth surface on, of course, all the seams on the sheeted surfaces. But then, of course, if I put transparent over it, oh, gee, look at these. I got these white splotches all over the place. That's not going to work.
If you look at it, almost every one of Walter Umland's kits, what do they call them? The Sakatumis. I don't think I've seen one yet that did not have transparent monocoat on the wings. Almost everyone. And that's because you got that nice Warren Truss wing set up there, and you just got to show it off.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a question. Now, I don't fly electric, and so I've seen some monocoat electric planes. Of course, they look good forever because there's no gas.
Uh-huh.
So now, John and you, Peter, how do you guys keep it so that it doesn't lift? You know, I have problems with the lifting.
Like I said, a lot of times when you run into lift, it's because here we go, Sheriff.
You didn't get it hot enough.
Because some people are using the how would you call it, the pressure sensitive, or the stick down stuff, the one that stuff that comes with the sticky backing, and they put it down there. That is good, but ultimately fuel gets under there and it lifts it. All of this here is the regular iron-on stuff, and once it's down, it's not coming up. Ultimately, and then if you're careful the way you place your seams, obviously there's trim here and here where there's an exposed seam that actually is exposed to the air, it is exposed to the airstream, but since it's actually ironed down, it's not lifting. But if you turn around and you're careful when you think out how you're going to do the covering, you just make sure that you're seeing you keep the minimum amount of seams towards the airstream. So you would turn around and start from the leading edge, working up towards the front if you're having pieces that are overlapping each other. This way,
right.
Obviously any seam is facing towards the back of the airplane, like John was saying. In this case, I couldn't avoid it because I wanted this open base. So this seam back here along the trailing edge, that's exposed to the airstream. But in this case, like I said, since I'm not using any kind of stick-on material, it's actually ironed down. I do not worry about ever having any of this lift up. And then, and even on the fuselage, the nose ring, everybody says there's so much a problem with the nose ring. If you use the stretch technique, you turn around, you grab that material, give yourself plenty of material when you're front, and you're pulling it down and onto the nose ring. You can actually pull it onto the nose ring and keep the same piece of material all the way to the inside of the nose ring, trim it out, and then once you're inside the nose ring, you can apply epoxy to that edge, as if you're going to epoxy or do some sort of fuel proofing for the entire engine bay, and that'll hold it down. It's never coming off.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, like I've also gone away from using like products with ammonia when I clean the plane. I found that ammonia was a problem. Like the Windex has ammonia. Using that monocoat, that was ruining or lifting. So I went away from that to using a product called Sprayway, which to my understanding has no ammonia, and that kind of helps. But even just
ammonia is good for applying monocoat, but once it's applied and the glue is dried, you don't want to re-wet it with ammonia because it'll wet the glue again.
Right.
That's what I apply top decorations and trim with is ammonia, Windex.
Yeah,
you can do Windex, or you can use a little bit of water and some vinegar. Anything so the super monocoat can slide into place, and then you can squeegee the air bubbles out.
I don't know about vinegar. I hadn't heard that, but I know that ammonia will not work on ultra coat. The glue is not sensitive to it.
You know what? I actually used on my Nobler. I used a lot of ultra coat, and I used Windex because I had.
Did it work?
It worked. Yeah, I actually used it to float it on and squeegee it out and let it dry overnight. Then the next day I would just gently touch the edges with a trim iron, get it down. And matter of fact, that's how I did my
okay.
My
I just heard it didn't work, so I never tried it. I'm gonna turn my camera back on and see if it works all right.
Now this is my wing to my Nobler, and this is mostly ultra coat. And let me click on my picture here.
I got follow me. It doesn't work for you right now. It works for me. There we go.
So the lettering here is actually 3 different layers of ultra coat: the black, a white, and a red. And so I actually did these on glass, and then I transferred all 3 sheets to the wing. And And
That was pretty tedious.
I use the I use that Windex to lay these things out on it, the numbers, the whole bit.
So the white gap in between the black and red, that's separate from the white base coat on the wing.
Yeah, on the lettering, the white is actually a sheet of white ultra coat. So
Interesting.
Layers. It was a pain cutting 3 layers.
I bet.
Because I didn't get the right size the first time. I mean, my wife watched me for hours and hours. I would try different size fonts, and it was just crazy.
Yeah, I bet.
That's how I lost all my hair.
You pull it? Did you pull it all out in the process?
Yeah.
Trajan made a good comment when he said about monocoat, using monocoat and getting out there and flying and practicing with the airplane, because as we've seen, guys as good as our sponsor here, he could spend a year or 3/4 of a year by the time he's got the airplane painted and finished and ready to fly. And well, he needs to, because he's flying at that level. But for most of us, if we can get 16, 17 points for a monocoat finish and be out flying that thing, while the other guys are in there painting and waiting and sanding and painting and all that, who's going to be better prepared for contest season?
Yeah. You know what? I'm actually thinking about monocoating this new build, the wing, and maybe just paint the fuselage.
That's a good way to do it.
That's a great way of going.
Could be August, and maybe it could be October, but yeah, I think that might be the way to do it.
I mean, why not? I mean, Charles, what do you have to lose? I mean, it's like
nothing. Yeah.
You probably don't even have appearance points over there on your contest.
Oh, they do.
Oh.
We do have appearance points out here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing with my new airplane. Iron on the wings and the tails and just paint the fuse.
Mm-hmm. That's always
should be good enough. Yeah. It's going to be so much lighter. I just don't have the time or the patience to do another dope finish. I've done a couple of them and I find it very, very labor intensive.
Yeah.
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 Now, do you put film on the flaps, or do you paint the flaps?
I put film on everything except the fuselage.
All right.
Yeah.
How about you, John and Peter? Or Peter left.
I put film on my wings, my flaps, my stab, my elevator, and oftentimes on my rudder. And then I usually paint the fuselage. Though I have the Vector that I built was all monocoat. My Legacy that I built had monocoat over silk pen on the wing, the flaps, the stab, and the elevator. The rest of it was painted.
Now, do you always have the plane as one piece, or have you ever done it where you have the wing and you monocoat that, and you go ahead and cut it in and put it in like an ARF, or do you always do it as one piece airplane?
Well, in the case of my monocoat days, I build I put the airplane together and then monocoat, because it's though it is possible to get the fuselage, finish the wings, set them in and put them in place, then put the fillets in. You can do it. I just haven't been patient enough to do it, though I will probably do my next one that way. Like I said, I've determined that the Vanguard that I'm working on now, the plans, that will be all monocoat, 100%. But that's because I'm lightening up the fuselage. It's got 1/8-inch stringers on the fuselage, and not much heavier than 16th or to 1/8-inch or 16th to 3/32 inch balsa in the fuselage. Doesn't have a huge amount of vibration and electric, so I don't have to build for that. And it should look nice if I do the stringers right. And monocoat goes right over that really good and easy, and makes for a very lightweight airframe.
Now,
for sure.
For what it's worth, I think another good strategy would be to, before you glue the wing into the fuselage, maybe finish the fuselage and put the tissue paper on it first. So, and get it sanded off and all that good stuff. Then you put your wing inside, you glue it in place, and put your fillets in place. Might be a little bit easier. I don't know, because for me, I always had like a little bit of a tough time trying to put the tissue over the wing, over the stab, and try to fit it in there and just put it on a fuselage. It's like, but if you work with a fuselage separate and then you sand it off, do all the good stuff on it, then you put the wings inside, glue the wing, do the fillets with the blue stuff, right? Sand it off nicely. Now you have a nice, relatively easy time to try to go straight to the paint of the fuselage. Or heck, you can even do the first coats of color on a fuselage and work them out and finish them almost all the way before you put the wing in.
Alan Brickhouse showed me a neat way of doing monocoat with painted fuselage. And what he does on his wings is he'll make ellipses of fiberglass.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and they'll lay them out through the fuselage area and out on the sheeting before it gets to the open bays. And then what he'll do is he'll then put the airplane together because he's got that fiberglass going through. And now, so he's got that strength through the fuselage. So he doesn't have a sheer stress riser going through there. Then he'll monocoat his wings and paint his fuselage. There's so many different variations you can do on it. The whole idea is you do want to avoid, if you could possibly, the stress riser going through the fuselage. But if you use your carbon fiber strips on top of your leading and trailing edge and your spars and put some good shear webbing in the center section of your wing and all that, you're not going to be hurting if you don't put that covering through the fuselage. I mean, you're going to be strong enough. There's a point where we can overbuild, and all it does is create some more weight.
Yeah.
So there's so many things, you know, you got to think these things through, and it depends on whether you're flying for sport or just plain fun or combat, or if you're flying precision aerobatics and you want to be competitive. There's different ways to go about it in each of those situations.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tryon?
Yeah.
There was an airplane you had that was blue and it had like almost like a ghost checkerboard on it. You had it a couple weeks ago. I saw it. I noticed it was like a blue finish, but when you hold it up to the light, you could see like a checkerboard. It almost looked like a Ghost Flames, except it was checkerboard. What was that? Or you don't know what I'm talking about?
It was a twister.
How did you get that finish?
With a green fuselage?
It was like, you know, like checkerboard, black and white.
Yes.
That, but it was blue, and then if you held it up to the light, you could almost see the checkerboard finish on it. It was about a month ago. I'd never seen that before.
I only have two planes that probably show. It's either the twister, and the twister was done with the monocoat checkerboard.
It didn't look like a twister. I don't know. This you ever seen a paint job of an old car where they call it Ghost Flames, where you only see it? It looked like that, except it was checkerboard. Maybe it was just the way the camera showed it.
No, I don't think. No, it was not that. It was not me, probably.
No, it was you. You were in the garage. I don't know. I'll have to go find the video.
So I have another monocoat question. So as far as preparing the wood, what do you guys do for preparation?
Same thing you do for paint. Absolutely the same thing.
I think it's a little more. You need to pay a little more attention with monocoat than you do with paint. You got to make sure there is not anything, no little granule of wood or anything. You don't want nothing on there.
Get little bumpies under it.
Yeah, you got to.
I just clean it up, get the dust off. I never use a woodpecker, but I never do solid sheeting anyway. like I said, I only do the wing bays. So
Yeah, Charles, what I think it's might be critical when you put monocoat on anything. Not only that, like what John said, just to have a nice smooth transition where the shear webs, where the sheeting meets those little cap strips on the top of your ribs and the trailing edge, have a nice smooth transition, nice flat, surfaces and stuff like that. But I think another critical thing would be to vacuum it real good. Like
Yes,
if
you
you
gotta
leave
get
a lot of dust in there, you're gonna have
yeah,
very, very bad adhesion. And if
I
you want
use a
to wipe
tack
out those,
cloth.
yeah,
The tack cloth is good.
yeah,
Yeah, because anything that's underneath that monocoat, I mean, a little piece of sanding dust there, it'll look like a boulder under there when you get it.
Yeah,
And if you want it to look good, you got to get rid of it. You
if you
vacuum.
get too
You
much heat and you get bubbles, a syringe tip will pop those, and then you just heat it and mash them out. And that's the only way to get them out. But a sewing pin, no, it makes too big of a hole. But you got a little, like an allergy syringe, just the bare tip of it, and then mash it out with your iron, and it'll go away. But
but
you're right. If you get dust under it, it's going to be a bumpy no matter what you do.
one of the
I'm
one of the
worried about the dust more about the bonding or process, having
no,
a
no.
good bond.
The monocoat will stick to the dust and it won't stick to the surface underneath. It'll lift right off.
Right.
Exactly. You got to have it clean and dry.
Thing about monocoat, difference between monocoat and ultracoat too is that the temperatures for adhesion and the temperatures for shrinkage overlap with monocoat. With ultracoat, they're this far apart. You've got adhesion and you've got shrinkage, but with ultracoat you do. With monocoat, they kind of overlap. So with monocoat, I just crank the gun all the way up and go to work, and and uh, and I work a lot faster with monocoat, but I always get it to go down, and you can get the smaller wrinkles out of monocoat with brute force heat better than I can with ultracoat.
one of the things you can look at is Charlie Bauer was a Midwest modeler. He flew scale mostly, and he won the nationals time after time after time. He also worked for Top Flight, and he was the guy that helped develop monocoat, and he was the guy that went around to the shows and all of that and showed people how to use it. He came to our club, the Circle Masters in Milwaukee, and did a demonstration where he showed us how to use it, and that's where I got most of the knowledge I have about it. But
I
one of
wonder
the
what he would have said about what I just told y'all about the heat range.
he would have, well, they didn't have Oracode or any of those things at that time.
To compare it to, yeah.
But the thing with putting monocoat over even a sheeted wing or you talk about the blisters, the little bubbles that get underneath it. One of the things you can do is you always pre-shake it. So you tack it and you pull and you tack and you get it as tight as you can get it before you ever put the heat to it.
Oh yeah.
Once you get it tacked and pulled and tacked, then you can go in and you just go along the edges all the way around. You leave a part for the air to get up when you do string it. But then you've seen those finishing gloves that you put on the one hand and for monocoat.
Yep. Right.
You get one of those on your hand and
Yep,
you take
oven
the heat
gloves.
gun out and you start shrinking from one to the other. You can keep pushing everything out until you get everything out, the hole that you left there for the gases to get out. Now you don't have to do that when you're just putting the first side on. You have to worry about that when you're getting those last sheets on, because getting that gas out from underneath it. But what if you do it, you're not putting the iron to the flats on your wing, the sheeting or any of that. You're using the heat gun and you're shrinking it down. You've already pulled it as tight as you can physically pull it before you ever get the heat gun to it. So you're
you're avoiding getting enough heat to get the gas. Is what I'm trying to say.
There is an exception to that rule about getting it as tight as you can, though, is if you've got something like a flight streak that's got a fixed flap and there's a little hard angle before it ramps up, you need to get the one angle. I always do the fixed flap first and make sure I get a sharp glue adhesion all the way down the joint, and then a sharp glue adhesion all the way down above the joint before I stick the rest of it down. Else you'll have it lift up and you'll never ever be able to get that monocoat from popping back up off of where that angled gap is.
If you think about what Peter talked about on using the damp rag, and when you're making fillet, you do the same thing on that flight streak. You put your top monocoat on the fixed flap in the first place. Then you run a little strip out on and over it, and you lay that down, and you use that damp rag, and you get it in place. And now you bring the sheet that comes from the leading edge. You start there. What you've got is you've got a little piece there that's only glued to part of the trailing edge and part of that stationary flap.
Yeah.
It will not pop up on you.
That's right. I didn't even think about that when he was saying that.
Yep.
Okay, so the other question usually is, okay, I have flaps or I have elevators. How do I do the monocoat on those and still make sure that I don't have anything the fuel can get into into the hinge line of those surfaces?
I'm
glad you asked that.
I paint them
because I know how to do that. Okay, on your wing itself, you start off and you, like, if you've got a 3/8 of an inch piece of wood back there on where the hinges are going to go in, you start off with a 3/4 of an inch wide piece of, or thereabout, piece of monocoat, and you center it on there, and you get it ironed in, and that on the back side where those hinges are going to go in, and then you get up there and you fold the front over the top. I mean the top and bottom. You fold that towards the front, top and bottom. Now, so you got this little strip that runs the whole length of where your flap hinge is going to be, and it's now 1/4 inch onto the top and 1/4 inch onto the bottom. Now, when you do your wing itself, again, just like with that flight streak wing, you start back there, heating it and tacking and gluing it on to that piece that you've already got in place. And so now you've got a 1/4 inch overlap between where the monocoat starts and where the monocoat underneath it ends. It'll glue in there really nice and tight, and you will not get fuel underneath it. You do the same thing on the front of your flaps, where your little V thing is on your flap. You do the same thing, only now you only have to bring that one piece over, and you make sure that it comes up about 1/4 inch on the top of your flap and 1/4 inch on the bottom of your flap. And then when you bring your monocoat on there, you start there at where the last turn is on that V.
Oh.
And then but before you do that, you go along like if you got a 1/8 inch thick or square spot on the back of your flap, like I do, you take a 3/8 inch piece of monocoat and you go all along that, and you seal it, and then you fold that over, so you got that in place. So now you're just going from the front to the back piece, and then you already got the ends on. You're not trying to pull the ends down and around. You're just coming down flat on top of it.
I do it a little bit differently.
Okay.
I turn around and I take my elevators. I install my hinges in my elevators, make sure they're pinned and epoxied into place and everything's all free, nice and loosey-goosey. And I turn around and I cover the elevators or the flaps with monocoat. Standard way, top, bottom, pull it around, make sure everything's sealed, all the way around. And then what I do is I then install them into the wing. The wing is not covered yet. I turn around and then, of course, epoxy or glue I use the Dubro, regular Dubro hinges. I turn around and I put those into the wing. I pin them, I pocket them in, pin them, make sure I get my nice tight clearances. Then when I cover the wing, what I do is I start with the bottom side first. I cover the wing and I leave enough overlap so when I get to the joint where the elevator or the flap meets the trailing edge of the wing, I take a business card or something and I leave myself enough material so I can turn around and shove the monocoque up into the space between the flap or the elevator and the top surface. So now I have a nice little piece of monocoque coming all the way up to the top of the surface. I then turn around. I don't worry about sealing the monocoque to the trailing edge of the wing. I turn around and pull it up. I fold it over, and then I just seal it down to the top of the trailing edge of the wing. And I then turn around and install the top panel of the wing. When I'm covering the top panel, I get to the trailing edge. I take a business card, shove it down into the gap between the flap or the elevator and the trailing edge of either the stabilizer or the wing, and I turn around and right at the corners, at the edges, I seal it off, and then I just trim and then I just razor trim it off at that point, and I've never had an issue doing it that way. That's just the way I do it.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with the way you're doing it. You're accomplishing a good seal. I myself, I like to install my flaps or my elevators after I have finished everything else. And I like to take, for instance, I'll take my movable surface like my flaps, and I've already cut my pockets and all of that in there before I put any covering on it. And so I'll get in there and I use CA to glue mine in with.
Yeah, I just particularly like I like pinning my hinges just for
and a lot of people do. A lot of people do like pinning them. I've never had to. I've CA'd them in. I use a little bit of silk span, fold it over and just slip it in there, and that silk span wicks the CA in there deep. I actually put one in there wrong one time, and I tried to pull it out right after I put it in the first place.
It won't come out well.
Not pull it out. I had to cut it off, trim it off, and make a new pocket.
Hey, hang on.
So it works, and there's probably for every way that we could talk about doing it, there's probably 2 or 3 other ways that work just about as good.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, I had something to show here, but Charles is on the phone, so.
I have had a good productive evening right now with you guys. I got my wings tightened up, no more playing them, nothing like that. I adjusted the push rod here. I think I'm ready to go and do some more trimming because I know everything is going to be out of trim right now.
Oh yeah, and by the way, I didn't pull out all the stuff to do monocoque demonstration, but for Monday I'll have my stuff pulled out and I'll show you how to some tricks on how to, if like you want to put numbers on your wing, but you want to have like a nice little pinstripe outline to the to the number, like let's say the contrasting color. I'll show you how to do that in monocoque and.
Yeah, that's tedious.
Yeah,
I've done it with water slide decals, but I've never got my code out to do it. Here, hey, Charles, I got something for you. It's not in focus. Come on, focus.
Let me click on that. Oh, you asked me at Brodax.
Can you read that?
Hang on. Let me. I can't.
It's out of focus.
Let me back up a little. Will Davis sent it to me today.
Really? Oh, that's really
Yeah.
nice. Yeah, it's a picture of me and Brodax. Yeah, and that plane.
Second place.
That plane I flew, it wasn't my plane again.
Oh, gee.
Kind of like with Sparky at the Nats. I flew to
Is
Pennsylvania.
that the tutor?
Yeah, that's the top flight tutor, not the tutor 2, but
The
the
tutor 35.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I flew my first official flight with no practice. So we call that plane cold turkey.
Good name. I thought I'd share that. Will Davis sent it to me today.
Tell Will Davis that thank you. That's pretty cool. Yeah.
I didn't I see someplace on Stunt Hangar just recently a big discussion about Big Jim Greenaway.
Probably a good discussion.
About what?
Big Jim Greenaway and the Pattern Master.
I don't know. I hadn't read the forums in so long. I feel terrible about bailing out on them, but
I haven't seen anything recently on Big Jim on the forum.
Well, I was looking at something that some older posts that were posted a while back, but I thought the New York guys had something up there just not that recently about Big Jim.
Big Jim was from that area, wasn't he? New York, Jersey.
Yes.
Yeah.
New York, Queens, Flushing Meadow Park.
Mm-hmm. Yep. He was Wendy Warnowski's personal motorman.
Yes, he was.
Yeah, he basically ushered in the high aspect ratio stunt airplanes of the I guess it was the late 70s, early 80s.
The Cardinal's a Big Jim wing, is it not?
Yeah, it's the Pattern Master, basically.
Pattern Master, yes.
Yeah, Pattern Master.
Yeah, that's.
I
think actually it was in the classic or maybe one of the N30s, because now all of a sudden those designs are you qualify for the N30 or the classic. I don't know.
Yeah. Peter, it was Dennis Adametian in the 60s that had the high aspect ratio. His orange crate was 7-1.
That's right.
And that's who actually brought in or ushered in the high aspect ratio.
Yep.
I'm just recounting the Pattern Master. I believe that just became I may have been in the the N30 or the classic. It just became officially one of the designs that can be designed for that particular competition.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
I've got one of my designs that was published in Model Builder, and it just this next year will be N30 legal. And I've got another one that I basically designed was the Pathfinder 40, which is the first full body Pathfinder, removable wing, and it'll be in 2 years. I think 2 years, 2 or 3 years, it'll be N30 legal.
Yeah, we're getting old.
Isn't that the truth? I'm hoping to live long enough to still be able to fly by then.
Get it?
You ought to be able to get back to it, John. I hope so.
If the SV11 is almost N30 legal, if it's not already.
Yeah.
The Vector is.
Yes,
I know the Vector is, yeah. But what about the SV? SV came before or after the Vector?
Vector. After, it would have to come after the Vector.
It did. It was about in the mid to early 80s that I saw my first SV11.
I mean, we're getting to the point of diminishing returns. I swear to God, when we start getting into Vectors and SV11s and Impacts and all these other airframes that are still competitive today, it's kind of like scary. Where do we go from here?
Yeah, well, this is the future. N30 isn't going to go much further because all of a sudden now there's no real gain by going.
Hey,
you see, the gain is getting to be less and less.
Peter, if you want more performers, look here.
Oh, okay.
Where do we go from here? You're looking at it.
Hey, try it?
Yeah.
Well, there's the Kiyosaki. That's the end of stunt as we know it.
Hey,
I mean,
And
Tryon?
electric is the future of old time stunt.
Somebody's trying to say something.
That's
Yeah.
just ridiculous.
Yeah, Tryon.
Yes.
I thought about you today. I got this RamyRC, and he's a guy from Spain, and he built this big Airbus.
Uh-huh.
It's Airbus A350
Oh, gee.
made out of carbon, and I think but I can't remember if I saw him build it, but I think it's about 10 to 12 foot is the fuselage length, and a 16-foot wingspan,
Damn.
and but if you'd go on YouTube and call that RAMYRC, and then the video is testing my brand new Airbus.
Oh,
Yeah,
Rami RC.
Yeah,
It-
and
it's people who've got more money than they know what to do with and too much time on their hands.
but
I've-
it did fine, flew
yeah.
good.
Yeah, I've seen that. I know the guy,
Okay,
and
yeah.
as I was looking at his stuff over there, I said, "Good grief, you have a lot to learn." That was my honest reaction, and that's truth. Yeah, he's got some nice working stuff, in there, but he can make things a lot lighter.
Oh,
A lot
probably.
lighter,
Yeah.
not
Most
just a
scale
little bit,
guys,
a lot lighter with different techniques applied to his building style.
a lot of scale guys have that problem. They make them too heavy.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Like I think I was saying that last time. I was thinking about building something like that, like a 4-meter wingspan Airbus with big turbofans, electric and stuff like that. But I would build everything with composite construction, like I just do it in a gliders, with the glider style. And if I make an Airbus, I'm not gonna make simple flaps on that. I'm gonna make like the flower flaps that actually works. And actually put the
Segmented flower flaps. Oh, that's a good one.
Leading edge slats on that too.
yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Yeah, I don't think he's
You
got
have
that.
to be.
If you go to that scale and you don't do that, it's corny. I'm sorry.
Well, my
But large scale like that, you can afford to put a lot of details.
my
got brake flaps.
my next stunt project is a near scale A10, Northrop A10.
Wow.
Near scale for stunt.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
A10 is cool as all hell.
Oh, I love it.
That's nice.
No,
Talking
stop.
about the Warthog A10?
Yep.
Uh-huh.
Huh? I gotta see it. I can't visualize the plane.
Len is awake.
Yeah.
The A10 is a Warthog. I saw that
Woke up again.
video.
One of the funniest looking planes ever been built, but it's a badass war machine.
Yes,
It'll almost sit still in the sky and pound up tanks, troops, whatever you want to destroy.
Wow.
30 millimeter Gatling gun in the note. The whole airplane's built around that gun.
Yes, it is.
I have to do a search later on to what the A10 looks like.
Look it up online. You'll find it.
I will.
Yeah.
You'll recognize it when
deal
you
with
see
the
it.
power on it? You put a motor in the front, 2 on the back, or
A10?
Can't put a motor in the front of that plane. It'll
The
Yeah.
motors are going to be in the back where the jets are, but the prop is going to be just in front of the jet housings. It'll run props right there instead of running a ducted fan or anything like that.
in the housing itself?
No, outside the housing.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
that's cool.
John, you know what? Here's
That is
a
cool.
stupid question,
Oh, yeah, baby.
Yeah.
That's a tough plane. That thing's made out of titanium. The cockpit is, anyway. You cannot shoot one down. It'll fly back. It'll fly back to base with a wing missing almost.
Wow.
So you know what, John, this will look like a very nice scale project if you want to make a true scale project. I'll probably go true scale project. But this for, I mean, you could do is probably just flight level, and it's not going to be a really an aerobatic plane.
I differ on that. I think it can be made into an aerodynamic aerobatic airplane.
Jack,
here's an idea.
They did more with even a Crusader.
Here's an idea. Yeah. Here's an idea. Make it out of foam board first, okay, and try it out. See how it reacts. If it reacts well and looks like it's gonna stunt pretty good, then go for it with a big project, right? But if it's not worth it. And in that case, I'll probably just make something nice with like put some electric fans inside, and make a nice scale project out of it. I think that would be a wonderful thing to do.
I read a series of books, fiction books about a guy that flew those, and I can't remember the name of the author or the name of the books now, but they were great books. It was a series of several of them.
Well, yeah. I've been thinking about this for a long time, and then I ran across on a plan site that there's an RC version that was published.
Yeah.
There are lots of them.
That used the props on the outside and just in front of those jet intakes.
Yeah.
And God, that's corny. They were aerobatic.
Oh, I'm confused. I was thinking of Flight of the Intruder. That was the A6E Intruder I was thinking of.
Uh-huh.
And the RC version is aerobatic. So I figure if we can make an RC version aerobatic, I'm pretty sure I can make a control line version. But I'll take it up. I'll probably build a profile version first.
Yeah, make it with foam board. That's so easy, just cut it out of foam board.
Look at that gun sticking out of the nose.
That's that Gatling, that 30 millimeter depleted uranium is heavy, and
they could switch between 25 and 35.
Well, it's big and it'll punch right through most tanks.
Yeah, it'll take out bunkers. That's a flying bunker buster there.
They actually wanted to decommission them, but Congress at some point authorized funds to keep them flying.
They did decommission them briefly, and the guys went over to Afghanistan and Iraq and said, "Hey, we need them. Give them back." They did.
Brought them back, and they tried to decommission them again, and they're saying, "No, we're not through with them yet."
Wow.
Yeah.
There's no other plane that'll do that job as well.
This is going to be electric, obviously. It's not going to be glow, right?
It'll be electric, yeah. And I got plenty of those to put the battery in. That's the one thing I have to consider, because have to be really heavy wires going back for the electric motors.
Mm-hmm.
If I put the batteries up in the nose.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, because if it was slow trying to start it, you'd tear up the wing.
Oh yeah, no.
It's a huge project.
Yeah, this will make a very nice. This will make a very nice scale project, because the wing area, you have a lot of wing area. The nacelles for the engines is huge, so you can put lots of power in it, or even put big fans with the smaller motors and just don't rev them up, you just run them slow. And then have the scale speed.
Obviously, the wing's got to come forward a bit, because the moments are really tight between the wing and the stabilizer and the elevator.
Well, we can play around with that a little bit. Like
those motors set up way high. If you look at the profile, show us the side view again.
Sure.
They blow way over the top of the stab.
Yeah.
Not way high, but they are higher. Yeah.
So you definitely don't have the prop wash. You're gonna lack the prop wash in that position, but no, if you put propellers in front of those, I know propellers on an A10 front, corny. Sorry.
If you're gonna do that, you might as well just put a spinner on the front, skip the tank, and put it right up front.
I hate jets with the prop on them.
Yeah. You do not have. You do not have that much of a nose to put in there. No, definitely not. Back here is way better. If you just have a prop right there, you'll never see it spinning when it's flying.
Right.
True, but still corny.
Interestingly enough, one of the things that I figure I'm going to have to not do is it's got negative incidence in the stab. If you look at it closely, the incidence is the leading edge is down, and that's part of how it's trimmed out.
Yeah, I can see it.
But as a stunt ship, it will be more 0-0. I'll probably have that incidence though that the jet nacelles show, because that'll be equivalent to having down thrust in the nose. But anyway, it's a project I want to try.
Here's a
The question is like, how do you get the CG, because it's going to be tail heavy as a bitch.
Well,
batteries in the nose.
Batteries in the nose. You've got
electric. And the real life version, the weight's balanced out by the hardened metal in the front around the pilot, but it doesn't balance out that way in a model.
The thing is, it can be done. I might stretch the tail just a little bit to get. I like to have at least 16.5 inches from the flap hinge line to the elevator hinge line at least.
Yeah.
I prefer 17.5. So, but I can also move it back a little bit and give you a little more clearance there. Looking at that upper left-hand picture, the prop would be in there. It's kind of pretty close to the top of the wing, but by moving it back a little bit, I should be able to clear the trailing edge of that wing with a prop.
Look at the size of the engine in that lower left picture compared with everything else. That is two big engines, boy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, look at all the ordnance it carries.
Yeah.
My goodness. I think that thing could carry about the bomb load of a medium World War II bomber.
It's got real stunt potential.
When is that a 1950s design? Did they have that in Vietnam?
No. I remember the first one I ever saw was flying out of Elmendorf Air Force Base in Alaska in 1973 or 74.
That's when I used to see them coming out of Myrtle Beach.
Yeah. And it was kind of funny when they first came out, the regular Air Force pilots didn't want to fly them because they're so darn ugly. And
but boy, when they figured out what they could do.
So they issued them to the National Guard. So here the National Guard's flying around with these huge, super ground support aircraft, and I think the regular Air Force kind of got the comeuppance when they had some war games or something they were doing, and one of these came down and cut a Navy an obsolete Navy cruiser in half with its gun.
Wow.
And they said,
Like a
wait a minute. Wait a minute.
That's a flying sawzall.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like.
Well,
and it can go down a line of tanks that are front to nose trapped on a road, going down the road, and just destroy the whole line of tanks.
Well, and there's some really neat nose art. There's some really neat nose art out there for them, and some various colorations and markings and stuff that makes it really quite interesting. You notice that little bit of dihedral out in the aft or in the outside extremities of the wing. It's straight and level through the center, and then it has a little dihedral. I probably won't have that much dihedral. I might have a little bit because you got to get the vertical CG up a little. But I'm more concerned about getting the control lines around that bend there to get into where the belt crank would be. But those are things I'll be working out as I do. It'll be a year or two before I get started on it. I've got the books, I've got the drawings, I've got everything,
you know, the 3 views and all of that already. So it's just one of those things. It's just my future project. When I get done with the Vanguard and a couple other things that I'm drawing for people, then I'll start on it.
How big is it intended to be?
Well, I figure it could be 620 to 670 square inches.
Yeah.
And the twin, I don't like twins that much bigger than that. They pull your arm off.
John, I give you credit for even trying something like that. That's phenomenal.
Yeah,
I got to say this to Pete. Thank you, Len.
You're
Pete,
welcome.
Pete, nice CGI work there, Pete.
Thank you very much. It took. It's still a work in progress. I'm still refining it.
It's a nice job.
Ultimately, I want to be able to I'm breaking up all the subcomponents. When I get it to the point where I can animate it, and I don't know what I'm going to do with it after that.
Oh, look, Mike Lonke posted Sam flew 5 patterns today on a 46 profile and came home in one piece. Good day for him.
All right.
All right.
All right, way to go, stand by.
All right.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's cool. I've seen a video with Sam today. He put it on
That's
Facebook.
awesome. It's getting better.
Hey,
Yeah.
Len, what did you want to make a CT-114 tutor?
Yes, I'm still thinking about that.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
it will have the prop in the front.
Well, you could make that the German anteater, that high altitude fighter they had one in the front and one in the back.
No, I can't. I can't do stuff like that.
No,
I don't have the patience.
I think the Dornier would be a nice. That's the Dornier, by the way.
Yeah.
I think that would be a nice project for a stunt plane. I mean, it would be perfectly suited for that.
Oh, absolutely.
You can make
For the-
your rotating props. The numbers
Oh yeah,
are just about right. You know, just
for the right person, I think it'd be phenomenal. I'm not that person. I'm too traditional. I build traditional airplanes. I can't build stuff that's too far off the beaten path, or I just lose my shit.
Len, you have no confidence in yourself. Come on.
No, you're right. You're right. My patience isn't as good as it used to be. When I was younger, I would try stuff. Now I don't have the patience and I don't have the time.
Okay, so who's going to make the stunter out of this one?
Uh-oh. Not me.
Now, what is that?
That's the Predator drone.
Okay.
Yeah, we saw one of those flying over while we were flying out at the fort one day.
Just
Quiet,
imagine
we
doing
couldn't hear it. We just happened to be looking at the right place in the sky at the right time, and there it went.
Just imagine doing a square 8 with that thing.
That's what Sean McEntee flies over. I knew that kid when he was just, he was about the same size as Mike Lodke's boy. He met him and his dad, Dan McEntee, at the SIG meet. And here the kid goes and joins the Army, and because he's a model airplane guy, they put him in that program, and he's been in that program for 15
I've
years.
never had the opportunity to meet them.
Oh, you'd like them both. They're good people.
I met them both a very long time ago. We're talking 96, 97.
Uh-huh.
That thing's just wild.
Yeah,
Well, that's what he flies when he's over in the Middle East.
He's flying a Vector, I think.
Hey guys, I'm gonna bounce. I'm gonna see you guys later.
Okay, man. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, same to you guys.
Take it easy, Charles. The only thing wrong with that last airplane is the motor's at the wrong end.
You have to be a pusher.
Well, no, you're looking at it wrong. It's a canard.
Yeah, can hardly fly.
Can hardly fly.
Hey, the United States military is taking out all sorts of people with that thing, so you don't say
But they are.
You know where that idea came from? Really, using the smaller in the Israeli conflict. Was it the 3-day war they had? Whatever it was, the Golan Heights. They had telemasters.
Back in the 70s.
The 6-day war.
They had telemasters with cameras in it that they were flying up there using for spotters.
Okay.
And they used those telemasters, and they're quiet enough and high enough that not many people knew they were there, but they did an excellent job of spotting for them and helped them to take the Golan Heights. Huh. Now that idea, when they did that, was so successful that the idea took off from there.
Yeah. You can put those. Basically, the MQ Predator. You can put that on station, and it can just turn around and just sit up there. You saw the wing on that thing. It's almost like a U-2. It could probably stay up there for like hours and hours and hours.
It can. It has a long delay that it can stay.
Huh.
And then
I don't know where
when it pulls the trigger, it says, "Okay, we found the target, and go for it." They're done.
I don't know where they're actually flying out of, but they're flying. You know, they've got a base where they fly in and out of, but some of the pilots are remotely somewhere else.
In Arizona, Fort Huachuca.
Yeah. Fort
A lot of them were based out of Fort. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but Fort Huachuca out in Arizona.
Fort Huachuca.
Yeah.
Hey guys, I'm gonna go to bed too. I'm gonna say early today.
Me too.
Oh, you guys, I tell you.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Lightweights.
It's only 12:30 your time.
All right. Well, have a good weekend, man.
Yeah,
Bye-bye.
me too, guys. Have a good night.
We'll see you guys, Panty
Good
Wade.
fun.
Looks like about 9 and 10's my magic number where I show and participate.
Streaming is on.
There we go. We're back. Okay. Well, we got Gary and John and Peter and me. So,
I
back on
an Aero Tiger. I don't know if it's an Aero Tiger or not, but I was on eBay today or yesterday, and there was somebody posting a Thunder Tiger Pro 36 Pro, and it had a CNC Venturi already installed in it and a PA NVA. And I was like looking at it and I'm saying, could that be one of Randy's jobs or maybe not Randy's jobs? But I figured I'm building this Saginaw 3, and it would be the perfect motor to stick in it, because the one thing I was thinking about is like, I was going to put in the OS 35 Max that it was originally designed to fly with, and I do have one. But then I was thinking that, okay, my OS 35 Max really needs like almost an all caster fuel and 25%.
I fly mine on 1022 PowerMaster.
Same here. I fly mine on that.
So I was thinking like, okay, then I would have to buy like 2 different fuels, one for all my Schnurl port engines and one just for the 35.
What do you fly your Schnurls on?
Typically, I fly my Schnurls on 20% SIG, SIG Champion, basically 50-50.
Or just get you a little bottle of drugstore castor and shake it up in there. It'll be all right.
I'm back.
So what I didn't want to end up having is like, having fuel that is tailored for the OS 35 Stunt, which is, 30 years old at this point.
Yeah.
Having a different fuel for all the Schnurl engines.
Well, I mean, if you just get a quart bottle, pour some 1020 in it, and just pour a little bit of that drugstore castor in there, shake it up, and fly it.
So, hell, I just picked, and like I said, there was a Thunder Tiger 36 Pro on eBay that looks a lot like Randy's Aero Tiger. So I picked it up, and that's what I've decided to put in it at this point.
Okay.
Peter,
That will have more power anyway.
Peter, that was probably an all right thing to do. And you know, if it's too much, if you can't throttle it down and get it to act right for flying it, you still got the 35S to put in there.
Yes, I do.
Now, I'm planning on putting. I've got a Stalker 40 side exhaust that I'm.
Oh, I got something on that Aero Tiger. Mike says if it doesn't say Aero Tiger with a number engraved on it, it's not one of Randy's. Lots of Thunder Tiger 36s have been converted with Venturi and NVA.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's one of the Aero Tigers.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it could possibly be because it's got a PA needle valve and it's got a CNC Venturi already on it. I won't know until I actually take possession of it. It might even be one of Randy's Thunder Tiger conversions that was not completely converted to an Aero Tiger. Unfortunately, the pictures that were on eBay for it did not show the undersides of it, where Randy typically puts his stamp of approval. So I can't tell one way for another, but I figured, hey, I'm going to stick that one in there regardless. And ultimately, what I'm going to do is if it isn't an Aero Tiger conversion, I'm going to send it to Randy to make it an Aero Tiger conversion.
Peter, that's a good idea. I've got a Magnum 36, which is basically a Thunder Tiger 36 Pro.
Yeah, that's where it is.
And I've got that on that. Remember that twin boomer, that Jack Sheik's Torino that I showed here a week ago? That's what's on that, and that is stock. That has not had anything done to it, and it flies so nice. It runs so good that don't worry about it. If you want to have Randy do it, you'll be happy with an Aero Tiger. But if you don't, then you'll probably be happy with it as a Thunder Tiger.
No, that just the picture that I'm sharing right now is that's what the engine looked like, and it looks like in a Randy job one way or another, at least partially or whatever that was done to it.
That's nice looking.
And I figured, from what I did read someplace that either Dick Passini or Jack Sheik said that the Saginaw 3 was kind of sort of underpowered with the OS 35. So I figured I'd put something in that might have a little bit more juice.
It won't be underpowered with that in it.
And of course, I didn't want to put a 46 or something else ridiculous in there, obviously.
Well, the thing is that you can be running around with just one jet engine on the side, so
because they didn't send me both halves.
They're probably still trying to figure out how to put that kit together. Don't realize that it takes two of those.
I'm just trying to figure out how do I convey to them that I need this particular piece, another one of this particular pieces.
Take a picture of it and send it to them.
Yep, that's what I'm going to do.
That other piece you showed me, though, I still can't figure out what that.
You know what that is? I did figure it out because it's in the it's in the assembly instruction books. It's the doubler. It's the fuselage, basically the engine doubler, so you can flesh out the front of the fuselage.
Yeah,
I did figure that out.
That's what I thought it might be.
So what it is
back.
Yeah, we're having trouble with this. Dude.
You have the fuselage, and this little guy, this weird piece, goes right there.
Ah, okay.
That's where it's supposed to go.
All right.
And then you sand it to shape, I suppose.
Yeah.
So that's where that goes.
That's the outboard side.
Yes.
Now make sure you got
that's the inboard side.
Make sure you got it oriented correctly, front to back there.
Hey, Peter, what did you pay for that engine?
The engine, it was $75.
$75, okay.
Yeah, if it turns out to be an Aero Tiger conversion, that's a really good deal.
Oh yeah.
Mike was curious about that.
Yeah, it was on eBay. Initially, it sat there for a long time at $50. I put in a decent bid on it, and it ultimately sold for 75.
If it was a completed Randy engine, it'd be about a $250 engine, and he retimes them too.
Ultimately, I'll turn around. And I'll find out when it gets here.
Yeah.
But I sent him my 46 VF for him to redo. I'm going to send him my Super Tiger 51 to do AAC on it, and then I will turn around and I will send him. Unless it's already been done, I will turn around and I'll send him that to do the whole Aero Tiger conversion to it, as long as he's got the parts.
You know, Peter, if you keep this up, you're going to turn into a competition flyer.
No, I'm not, because
I don't know. You're getting top-notch equipment that competition flyer would want.
Yeah.
The reason for that is that for many years I had to deal. I basically dealt with what do I do now? I've got an engine. It doesn't want to run right. I've gotten sick of that, and I'm just not ready to go to electric.
I resisted electric a long time, but I finally started making a change. I'll probably always keep my stalkers and a couple others. I'll probably always have some IC going, but most of the new planes I'll be building will probably be electric, especially if they're twins.
Hey, Peter, when the after we get the video posted, it'll be tomorrow before it's processed, but you can go back and read Mike's comments in the chat box. It should show up by tomorrow. It takes a while for the chat box to load up when they process, but he's got some things to say about that engine.
Okay, terrific. And like I said earlier, come by Monday, I'll have a camera set up over the table. At least I'll bring out some Monaco stuff, and now that I have a bunch of scrap balsa to work with, I'll pull out and I'll do some tips and tricks on how to do Monaco. Like, let's say if you want to do numbers.
Okay.
And you want to do outlines to numbers, how you can do that in Monaco without adding too much weight and stuff like that.
Sounds good.
That'd be interesting. Yep.
Man, my back's getting sore from sitting in this chair. Why don't we call it a night, or at least I'm going to go ahead and tell the YouTubers goodbye, and y'all can carry on if you want to.
No, I think I'll close out too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let me talk to them, and I'll tell y'all bye, and we'll call it. Hey, YouTubers, thanks for coming in, and don't forget, if you want to hit the super chat box before you leave, you can bang us out a couple of bucks for walking around money, and we appreciate that. And y'all help make it a good show. There's more of y'all than there are of us, so everybody have a good weekend out there. Fair winds, tight lines, good weather, and we'll see you Monday. And so let's see. I can go over to YouTube and go El Kabong end stream.